from knowing that you have the confidence, you know where you should be, and I know I should be up there. So yeah, that's where we're going to be. Last year, I'm not gonna lie, was a struggle a little bit. Kind of where we had the high expectations where we were in 2017, and came into 18 and kind of floated around top 10, top 5 here and there, and then got one or two podiums, just not quite where I was. So it was frustrating. And going into 19, I mean, we've changed a lot of things and got the new bike this year. I'm really excited for that. I've been on it all off season, and honestly, it's so much better than what I felt like I was on before. So I think we made some huge improvements with bike setup, and just me personally, I know what I'm up against. So I think we're coming in just much more prepared than we've ever been. And I know people say that every single year, but I think 19 is definitely, I feel like, going to be a great year.
Welcome to the AMSOIL GNCC Racing Series, presented by Specialized, an AMA National Championship. Well, the wait is over. Here we are, Palatka, Florida, for the Moose Racing Wild Boar GNCC. Landon, welcome back.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's good to be back.
Well, man, we think back just a year ago, we saw Caleb Russell taking his 6th national championship.
Yeah, he was on fire all year long, and 6 years in a row now. He's consistent. He's always there, and he's on fire round after round.
He absolutely is. We've seen some big changes in the XC1 this year as well.
Yeah. So last year we had Thad Duvall and Stuart Baylor in 2nd and 3rd. They both had really good years. They were knocking on Caleb's door all year long. Thad even got a couple wins in there. But as far as changes in the XC1 class, we have Babbitts Kawasaki into GNCC Racing this year, and they will have Josh Strang and Jordan Ashburn. And as well as those changes, we also have Trevor Bollinger switching from a Honda onto a Rockstar Husqvarna.
It's going to be interesting. And then, of course, moving into the XC2, we're not going to get to see that battle this year between Ben Kelly, the XC2 champ, and Josh Toth.
No, I mean, they were some good battles all year last year. They were neck and neck, but Ben Kelly did come out on top. Josh Toth came in 2nd place, and Craig DeLong in the number 3 spot. However, Josh Toth will be moving to the XC1 class for today's race here in Florida. And Craig DeLong is sticking in XC2, but unfortunately he had an injury a week or 2 ago, ended up breaking a collarbone, so we will not see him on the racetrack today.
And of course, the FMF XC3, Jesse Ansley picking up his first national championship in the XC3 class. He will defend that this year aboard the Trail Jesters KTM. So there you go, Landon. The stage is set. I'm chomping at the bit. I know everybody at home is. Let's take it to Jared Bolton with a track description.
Thanks, guys. I'm here at the Mud Flats for this week's track description, and what a great track this is. Everybody loves coming down to Florida. Regardless if you love these deep sand whoops or not, when you come to Florida, you know you're in for a good race. Everybody gets a little bit worried when you get out on these mud flats. You think you're going to run into some deep mud. Well, guess what? It's not that deep. There's a few spots out there that are just a little bit deeper than that, but overall, you can pick your way through this and you're not going to have any trouble with it. This track is absolutely awesome. You've got some really fast stuff, and you got some super tight stuff. What's that going to do for the racing? Well, when you get in that tight stuff, the guys that are good at that are going to catch up with those fast leaders. It's going to make a really good race. When they get back into the open stuff, those guys are going to start to pull away again. And guess what? That's great racing. I can't stress enough how phenomenal this race course is, and it's going to make some awesome racing. That's for this week's track description. Back to you guys.
Thanks for the track description, Jared. It looks like we're going to have a good track out there today and some really good battles all day long.
Well, I'm excited. The stage is set. Now let's take it down to the start line with Rodney Tomlin.
Tire work a little tiny bit better. We're always searching for the next new tire.
That's awesome. Have you guys got anything on the drawing board that people can be anticipating in the near future?
Well, if I told you all that, that would be. But yeah, so we do have some different items out there coming, and you know, if you just looked at the latest MX 33 tire, that
what does it need to be on?
You realize we still have an MX 52 tire, so it's not hard to do the math there and figure out what's the next sequential number of that intermediate tire.
But you guys are in trouble with it. Right past 11, you got a long, whooped out straightaway. Just use your head, pick good lines. I would say it's easy to ride the edges on that one, but the edges are whooped out too. So just take your time through there. Don't do anything you're going to regret. That'll take you back into another little tight section, back and forth over the 12-mile mark. And then it opens up a little bit over to the 13, up to the finish. And then you got about a mile good trail before you come back around behind the start. Come back around behind the start, and you got a big field section over the planted ponds directly ahead of you. That'll bring you over the 2-mile mark, out and around the pro pits, and then you're going to come out on those mud flats. And I've been saying this all weekend. You'll look at it and say what our old buddy Buren Hamrick used to say. You're going to say, oh my God. But pick your way through that. The mud's really not that deep, except one hole out there towards the end. I'm sure there'll be people out there pouring you the good line. And even if you take the bad line, stay on the gas and you'll come out the other side. So that'll bring you back around, field section again over the 4-mile mark, back into where you started at. So you guys are 13.2 miles this weekend. It's a really good track. I hope you guys enjoy it. So good luck, be safe, have fun, and pay attention to the arrows, everybody.
All righty, thanks a lot, Bolton. And, of course, just want to remind everyone, safety first, GNCC Racing. like all motorsports can be dangerous. Racers, now that you've had an opportunity to inspect the course, have heard the race procedures and a description of the course. If you feel that either you or your machine is not prepared, then now's the time for you to withdraw for complete refund of your entry fee, no questions asked. Racers, it is your responsibility to operate your machine in a safe manner. Maintain it controlled at all times. Extreme caution is required when approaching areas with high concentrations of fans. Do not take unnecessary risks that endanger the safety of fans. You will be penalized for reckless racing. Race fans, due to the nature of GNCC racing, there is no fence barrier around the course. It is your responsibility to keep yourself and your children a safe distance from the course. Never turn your back on oncoming racers, and remember, stay off the track. And finally, for the safety of everyone, unauthorized drones are prohibited at GNCC and will be confiscated. I take this opportunity to welcome everybody along the World Wide Web at racertv.com as our stream has began live, running just a couple of seconds behind, but that only means that we're going to give you the best opportunity to view some of the best racing on the planet. And it happens right here today in Palatka, Florida. But before we get that underway in this Moose Racing Wild Boar GNCC, Mr. Ricky Towery to ask a blessing on today's race.
Thank you, Rodney. Hey, let's go, Lord, and have a word of prayer together this afternoon. Heavenly Father, once again, we just thank you for bringing us all together so we can have some fun enjoying what we love doing, racing these motorcycles. Lord, you blessed us with such a beautiful weekend for the opening round. We thank you for the weather that you've given us for this opening round. Lord, be with these riders. We ask you'll keep them safe this afternoon, protect them, let them have a good time, be it the workers and the spectators and everyone that's gathered here together. Lord, we thank you for this landowner and their family for letting us use this piece of property so we can enjoy our sport. Be with them in the days to come. Lord, watch over our military men and women. They protect this country all year round, every day, somewhere in the world. Lord, be with them. Be with our leaders, that they'll always keep an open mind and make the right decisions for this country. Lord, we just thank you for the blessing that you give us every day. Take us all home safely so we can get back together again one day. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, if you would, please remain standing, stand at attention, remove those caps, and cross those hearts as we honor the greatest nation in the world with the playing of our national anthem. welcome once again here to this opening round, New Year's of the GNCC Racing Nation. All of you here with us in Palatka, Florida, and across the World Wide Web at racertv.com as we make our way down here onto the starting line. Standing here beside Caleb Russell, a 6-time GNCC champion, about to embark upon his 7th GNCC in a row. And Caleb, I'll tell you what, man, it's a great way to start a great season, a time of the year. You got to be feeling good, coming fresh off of the surgery and everything this winter. I know you had a lot to be looking forward to, and, well, a lot of that is going to be competition, I believe.
Yeah, it should be a good day. It's going to be brutal out there, and down the road a few miles from here, and I've got my place to know what the going to be. Just haven't ridden anything quite this rough this year, so it's going to be brutal, and I know there's going to be a lot of guys going fast, and just stay out front the first couple laps and try to put the hammer down at the end.
I tell you what, he's right. It's going to be rough, it's going to be fast, and he's going to be the rough and fast one as well. Can anybody stop Caleb Russell? We'll have to wait and see to find out for sure. 3 hours from now, who will be the Moose Racing Wild Boar GNCC overall winner? Well, like we said, time will tell that story. And right now, before the story is told, let's meet our starting lineup. Rolling to the line first today, he rides aboard the number 1, a 6-time champion from Boonville, North Carolina, an FMF KTM factory racing machine, Caleb Russell. Rolling to the line second today, he rides aboard the number 989 from Williamstown, West Virginia, on a Rockstar Energy factory Husqvarna Racing Husqvarna. And rolling to the line next, we welcome this rider as a pro racer rookie here in 2019 aboard the 941 from Fort Mill, South Carolina, on a Lenovo Racing Team, Team Green Kawasaki backed machine, Chris Venditti. Rolling to the line next, on board the number 410, a new ride for this rider as well, and possibly a new life to his career, out of Birdsboro, Pennsylvania, on a Phoenix Honda Racing Honda, Andrew DeLong. Rolling to the line next, aboard 06, he was a former XC2 Pro Lights champion, FMF KTM Factory Racing KTM. Meet another new rookie, Josh Toth. And welcoming back to the GNCC Racing Nation for a special visit once again to begin the rest of his week, a bike week, from Ekron, Kentucky, on a Red Bull Liat KTM, Ryan Sipes. riding in place of Rough and Rowdy Ricky Russell, the number 212. We welcome back former champion from New Zealand on an Am-Pro Yamaha, Paul, the X-Man Whoop-Lee. And last and certainly not least, hailing from Silver Hill, Alabama, on an Imagimoto Romar Marine Max Incorporated Kawasaki, Pete Harrison. And that, ladies and gentlemen, your starting lineup for this XC1 Pro Class and the Moose Racing Wild Boar GNCC. We are about 2 minutes out from seeing that green flag fly in racing action underway here in 2019 to kick off the 45th season of GNCC Racing. And I'll tell you, folks, it's going to be a hot one, no doubt. If this first race is any indication as to what we can look forward to, we got a lot to be looking forward to. So don't forget, folks, safety concerns. Make sure you're not where you're not supposed to be. Track crew getting everybody out of the way right now. Ricky is making the final checks, checking with the track crew, checking with the folks in scoring, checking with the medical crew, checking with the safety crew, and of course, checking with the track crew. And at this point, it looks like all systems are a go. And Ricky is about to begin the sequence of starting here for the 45th season of GNCC Racing. In the beautiful sands of Palatka, Florida, temperatures in the mid-80s today. A slight breeze is blowing. The racing action is about to heat things up even more. 1 minute, folks, 1 minute before the start of this XC1 Pro Class. As all attention again turns to Ricky Towery, and this is where all the nerves start to build. All this hard work in the off season. Everyone's got a dream. Everyone is tied for the national championship points lead right now. Who's going to be tied or who's going to be in the lead at the end of 3 hours? We're going to have to wait and see. But right now, the blue flag is out now. 30 seconds. Shut them down, guys. Shut them down. Shut them down. Shut them down. As we are about to go racing. And I got to ask you, Florida race fans, whoo, are you ready to go GNCC Racing? That's pretty good, but I think you're more ready than that. Let's try this one more time. Florida, are you ready to go GNCC Racing? 10 seconds. And row number 1, the XC1 Pro, will be off and rolling at our Moose Racing Wild Boar GNCC. $250 hole shot up for grabs. The 24 machine of Heath Harrison from the Moto World is taking over the early lead here today. Another Kawasaki. Is that Chris Venditti back in the number 2 spot? Trouble arising in another Kawasaki. 3 Team Green machines up front. Josh Strang in the number 3 spot. XC2 250 Pro. Jesse Grom, Ryder Lafferty, Austin Lee, Liam Draper, Brenda Riordan, Philip Cheney, Mike Witkowski, Ben Parsons, Alex Teagarden, Evan Smith, Ryder Heacock, Brewer Colley, JoJo Bowden, Francis O'May, Tegan Temple, Benjamin Kelly, Matthew Kiefer, Samuel Evans, Zach Hayes, Hunter Neuwirth. 10 seconds. Trevor Barrett, Jonathan Garor, and Jonathan Johnson. $100 hole shot up for grabs, I should say. The award going to go to the 282, the fist pump in the air, North Liberty, Indiana's Beta USA Factory team rider of Mike Witkowski, taking the early lead. And they say those new Betas this year are really dialed in. FMF XC3 125 Pro-Am class. Joe Marsh, Jason Thomas, Logan Lowry, Michael Beeler, Chase Coville, Jesse Ansley, Nate Smith, Jake Froman, Jason Raines, and Cody Barnes. 10 seconds. And the sweet sing of the 125 is the number 1 of Jesse Ansley. Last year's champion is out front, but he's got the 3-1s of Jason Thomas, a former highly competitive competitor. And there's the 99 also in the mix. I believe that's Cody Barnes out of Sterling, Illinois. But it's all, Jesse Ansley. That's going to be a barn burner, folks. 258, Simon Johnson, Chase Hayes, Owen Guides, Ryder LeBlanc, Michael DeLoza, Robert Whitlock, Barry Fernandez, Dylan Dela Cruz. Also Matthew Davis, Brody Johnson, 10 seconds. Ben Wright, Bolton Biroff, R.J. Cook, Joey McNeil, Devin Welch, Jonathan McDougall, Brian DeSalt, Brendan Poling, Hayden Earhart, Tyler Branham, Josh Farrell, John Day, Nicholas Correnda, Ryan Quinn, John Campbell, Andrew Gross, Jackson Ways, Tristan Landon, Bryce Coster, Michael Bloom, Jaron Williams, Loic Leonard, and Michael Andinoffy. And it's the 29 machine of Simon Johnson from Bennington, Vermont, another Trails Jester rider from out of the Northeast on his KTM, ready to make his mark in the GNCC racing world. Open A bikes, Eric Guys, Zach Tussle, Nick O'Brien, Levi Keller, Matt Curvin, Dylan Ely, Joshua Lee, James Murphy, Evan Young, Evan Earl, Jeremy Lanther. 10 seconds. Xander Wagner, Justin Leonard, Devin Pomanowski, Brandon Phillips, Scott Guller, Mike Tominick, Patrick Jones, Zachary Hugo, Brady Myers, Dawson Dobson, Cubby Becker, Gary Comer, Levi Cagle, Colton Wilkes, Jake Himes, Harrison Helmick, Alex Baroff, Braden Moore, and Brock Cagle. And it's going to be, I think the 210 Kawasaki got that. Josh Lee out of Statesboro, Georgia on a Kawasaki of Statesboro. 200A class coming up next. Tyler Centrino, Zachary Davidson, Austin McCoy, Rylan Franklin, Logan Kiddick, Max Fernandez, Chase Goslin, Elliott Key, and Dylan Zimpel. 10 seconds. $199. That is Zachary Davidson out of Iron Station, North Carolina. Great jump out of the first turn. He's got about a bike length. Oh, carnage out of the first turn, but it's not Davidson. Zach Davidson on a Husqvarna USA Dunlop Fly and Chad Davis racing machine taking the early lead. As we go to the 4-stroke A lights class, we got Gatlin Welburn, Travis Renaud, Eli Childers, Kobe Davis, Adam Hollenkamp, Hunter Williams. 10 seconds. Brady Faint, Alexander Luger, Hayden Dillon, Johnny Manera, Nathan Rector, Derek Mabey, Josh Guffey, Trevor Maley, Ian Flynn, Dalton Seals, Mitchell Owenby, Tanner Cowart, Dylan Carano, Ty England, Frederick Bluin, Weston Purley, and Jake Easler. And it's the 130. Travis Renaud from Stafford, Missouri on a Yarborough Industries, Marionville Power Sports, and Answer Back KTM. The Vet A 30-plus class coming up next. Sam Forster, Chris Bach. Welcome back, buddy. Chris Doonesfree. 10 seconds. Jesse Arsenal, Rick Melise, Alexander Legault, Nick Nyman, Surly Amancio, Sidney Salza, Sean Clark, Lunicio Sanchez, also Benny Williams, Brandon Peterson, Joshua Wyatt, Nicholas Cardona, Fabian Barada, Martin Howell, Matt Modick, Graham Meadis, Bill Savendi, Joe Bayo, and Johnny Lawrence. It is, I believe, the 103 or 133 that might have been. Chris Bach out of Hebron, Indiana, Trail Jesters KTM rider. I believe. I might have saw that wrong, too. Senior A 40-plus class coming up. Frank Messina, Sean Remington, old shotgun. Frank Tussle, John Beaver, Gregory Richardson, Bob Bergman, Barry McCarty, Owen Tyrell, Christian Broombaugh, Joe Kessler, Jeff Houston, less than 10 seconds to go. Leopoldo Gomez and Larry Sylvia. And who's got the early lead in this one? 27 on the machine, 366. Woo! That is Barry McCarty from Port Orange, Florida on that Husqvarna. '54-year-old, by the way, in that 30-plus class. Junior AB 25-plus class. 10 seconds. Andrew Ball, Dustin Ulrich, Andrew Music, Matt Bruffy, Tyler Brunton, Dylan Recchia, Nathan Zicklow, Ben Kowalowski, Damon Rummel, Joseph McCarty, George Kowalowski, Jesse Fulmer, Dustin Stanley, Wiley Brownell, Landon Smith, and Sammy Doris. Around that first turn, here they riders, and it's led by the 381. About 3 bike lengths there. Damon Rennell, Stafford Springs, Connecticut, of the Manchester KTM Fly Racing 100% goggles back machine. 250B class. Garrick Orbester, Austin Hovatter, Philip Dagnes, Landon Ray, Galen Combs, Trevor Riley. 10 seconds. Austin Kimsey, Corey Pierce, Travis Berry, Jake Lale, Ethan Cox, Bradley Chapman, Michael Scott, Dylan Gore, Alan Nolting, Benjamin Bluen, Zachary Rohr. Our moto hero in this one, Jesse Groves, Jared Borges, Joseph Cummings, and Noah Martz. 586. Benjamin Bluen out of Canada. Benny Bluen taking the early lead. 200B bike class coming up now. 10 seconds. Max Rust, Trent Gaither, Nathan Artretz, Tanner Collins, Nolan Osteen, Jake Dismarius, also Patrick Murray, Gino Bonacci, Ezra Judd, and Gavin Flanagan. Four, 7, 7. Oh. Don't have, must not have got the helmet number, got the bike number there. Bet B30 plus class, Larry Hopper, Clint Burkeville, William O'Brien, Justin Miller, Gabriel Ramirez, Gary Basang, Michael Swartz, Sam Bishop, Ernie Martin, less than 10 to go. Esteban Naveda, Casey Moore, Nathan Taylor, David Murray, Drew Gorey, Brandon Doris, Travis Beam, David Espinoza, and Josiel Ramos. Five, 5-0. I believe we're up to open B. 10 seconds. Matt Swords, Jacob Harrison, Tom Thompson, Peyton Harden, Matthew Wisn't, Justin Gibbs, Curtis Compton, Paul Crutchlow, also Joshua Webb, Joshua Sexton, Brandon Boyles, Kevin Wilson, Andrew Hollencap, Brendan Bishop, Brandon Wolf, Jared Miranda, Larry Adams, Dan Palazzo, and Michael Modick. It is 2:22. Peyton Harden from Stamping, Kentucky on a Trigger Concepts Fly Racing FMF machine. Senior B, 40-plus class, less than 10 to go for these as they're ready to roll. Wes Morris, Igor Sordas, Mike Horwitz, Douglas Watson, Adam Miller, Scott Matheny. And our last row I have listed here will be our 4-stroke B lights class, but getting this whole shot. 379 on the helmet. Igor Sordas out of Marlborough, Massachusetts, or Igor. And up next is our 4-stroke B lights class. 10 seconds. TJ Fine, Alexander Pedersen, Zachariah Tinky, Corey Mihalik, Hunter Cleveland, Tyler Daniels, Franklin Brown, Hunter Thorne, Tyler Palmer, Corey Schaefer, Daniel Reddick, and Cole Henderson. Oh! Whoa, what a get off there. That opens the door for the 232 of Alexander Patterson from Cambridge, Ohio. Looks like our down riders are getting back up and going to be okay. The 431 machine of Franklin Brown from Calpin, South Carolina. And our other rider is trying to get things rolling, but he's A-okay, giving him a quick check out. He's giving us a thumbs up, looks like, and he may be calling it a day. He's going to wait a minute. We'll see what happens, though. We'll keep an eye out for him, but right now it looks like start's clear, and with that, we're going to throw things over to the booth here in just a moment, but stick around as we got more of this Wild Boar GNCC to come here on GNCC Live.
I'm Travis Estrada, and you're watching Racer TV. Consistent clutch feel is vital to effective starts or to confidently maneuver around obstacles on the trail. AMSOIL synthetic dirt bike oil was subjected to an extreme simulated start test. After 32 simulated race starts, AMSOIL synthetic dirt bike oil continued to deliver consistent clutch feel, and the clutch plates remained clean with no visible wear. The competitor's oil, however, allowed discoloration and significant wear after just 16 starts. AMSOIL synthetic dirt bike oil. Give your bike the protection it needs.
Spanning over 3 decades, one name has taken the lead for supplying the best powersport parts, accessories, and apparel to fuel your passion. One name that knows it goes beyond getting you the best prices, quickest shipping, or largest selection. One name that builds and innovates for our industry. One name that teaches, helps, and supports our fellow riders, racers, and organizations. We are Rocky Mountain ATVMC. Visit us today and experience the best in OEM and aftermarket parts, accessories, apparel, and industry-leading information. Get free shipping on orders over $75, free apparel exchanges both ways, and the best customer service. Experience one name that leads all others. Rocky Mountain ATVMC. Get ready.
The all-new Yamaha Wolverine X2. With a compact chassis perfect for exploring tight technical terrain. An ultra-quiet and smooth 850 class twin-cylinder engine. And next-level versatility with a 600-pound dumping cargo bed. No other side-by-side delivers this level of proven off-road performance. The all-new Wolverine X2 from Yamaha.
Born of family values and a homegrown work ethic, Cometic Gaskets seals your machine so you can focus on the finish line. Cometic Gaskets are the competitive standard for racers who demand the very best. Cometic Gaskets are constructed from superior materials designed to perform in the most demanding environment, whether it's championships on the line or a day in the dirt with friends. Professionals and enthusiasts depend on Cometic. Cometic Gaskets, sealing championships since 1989.
This Racer TV broadcast is brought to you by AMSOIL, the first in synthetics. Specialized Turbo e-bikes, it's you, only faster. And by Rocky Mountain ATVMC. Get ready.
I'm Travis Estrada, and you're watching Racer TV.
Welcome back to GNCC Live. I am Mikey Waynes, and you guys have already heard from my colleague, Rodney Tomlin, down there on the start line. Actually joined in the booth right now by one of the pro mechanics, Lane Michaels mechanic, David Quillen, or as you guys know him in the industry, DQ. DQ, welcome to the intro here.
Yeah, thanks, man. It's cool to be on here.
So basically, what we've got going on, we got a little Racer TV action.
Yeah,
a little different than when you and I normally
usually
talk.
a little different than the podcast.
A little different than the bottleneck. So we're here out in Palatka, Florida, for the Moose Racing Wild Boar. You guys have been able to take a look at the starts, and as they're working through this track here, we'll get a shot of the leaders, I believe. Last time we saw it looked like Caleb had worked his way out front. So again, welcome to the Moose Racing Wild Boar, round number 1 of the AMSOIL GNCC Series, an AMA National Championship presented by Specialized this year. And we're here in beautiful, sunny, hot Palatka, Florida for the 3-hour pro bike race. And when I say hot, I think the weather guy said like a high of 86 today.
I was going to say, I think I heard 86 also.
Yeah, it was so just, just shy of 90 degrees. So as we take a look here at these guys
taken to this course, we'll take a look at the Yamaha Racing track map. We've got about a 13-mile course for you guys today, a little over 13 miles, 13.2. And you see the white dots on your screen right now. Those are indications of where we've got camera shots set up. And then the black box, that is where we'll have our drone footage. So the drone footage will be able to cover basically everything in there, the pro pits, the finish, checkpoint 1, through the start area when they loop back around in there. So a great track setup for these guys this weekend. Yesterday's race was gnarly on the ATV
I would say
side
it
of
looked like a
things.
great battle all day. Like, this is one of the best ones I've seen in a long time.
It was pretty impressive. Pit strategy came into play.
Yeah.
The race ended up running long. So, I mean, that combined with the heat, the sand, it always seems like everybody out here in Palatka, you talk to them on the podium, and have you raced here, DQ?
I did. I raced last year in XC3.
So how'd you do?
I finished with the B Riders.
All right, well, fair enough. But it only seems like Florida is just a race of survival.
I would agree with that.
But I believe we're going to take a look at some of the replays of the starts, and sounds like maybe a replay of our leaders as well. So here we go, our specialized rapid replay. Are these our XC1 guys?
That is XC1, yeah. Heath Harrison, the moto guy, pulling the whole shot.
Exactly. How about it? Heath Harrison coming out and racing the GNCC, taking the whole shot early in that one. We've also got Ryan Sipes out here racing with us. I believe
doing the
he raced the 250s last night, right?
Supercross last night, yeah.
So, yeah, pulling double duty, and I think Sipes is going to be racing flat track later this week.
Yep.
My goodness. Now we've got the XC2. Specialized rapid replay here of our whole shot. I believe it was Mike Wachowski.
Yep, he
coming
stole
away.
it. Ben Kelly was out front early, went wide in the first corner, but Mikey coming in hot.
Yeah. Indiana guy.
Yeah, exactly.
DQ
Just
and I
north of
here
me.
tooting our own horn from Indiana. So, yeah, Mike Wachowski, great start for him. That's good to see, as he had some ups and downs last year. And then the FMF XC3, the 125s, and Jesse Ansley taking it, but boy, this is going to be a fun one
I
to
cannot
watch,
wait
man.
to watch
this.
this.
Is going to be gnarly.
I love watching that class. It's so cool.
Jason Thomas out there racing with those guys. Oh, yeah, there we go. A little action. Look at this.
Oh, yeah.
Get you some of that right there.
And that is what GNCC racing is all about.
Yes, welcome to round one. We are back. I don't know, maybe it's so this is a rapid replay as well. I was going to say, is this a live
There you
shot?
go.
So there
Caleb.
we go. Caleb Russell out in front as he enters into the Monster Mile. These guys had some trouble with this yesterday. May not be a full mile, but we can guarantee you that Monster Energy Monster Mile is going to feel like a mile, if not more. No problem for Caleb Russell. And it's one of our Babbitt's Kawasaki guys.
I can't tell if it's Strang. I think it's Strang.
I believe that was Josh Strang there in the number 2 spot. So we got some pretty good time separation between first, second, and third right there. I couldn't quite make out who was in the number 3 spot.
And
Bollinger into the, was that 4th place right there. Trevor Bollinger coming in. Rocking that the black gear today. He's a brave man, braver than I am. Tough, 3 hours in that, but it's cool.
Oh,
He'll
yeah.
be fine. So, the Babbitt's Kawasaki guys coming back with us here.
Right. Believe they're Monster
Fred
sponsor
Andrews.
here in the Monster Mile.
That's right. How about
Perfect.
that? That's perfect product placement right there. So the Babbitt's Kawasaki guys doing well here to start things off. Paul Whibley, right there.
Yeah, on the
racing
Ricky
on
Russell
212,
machine.
on the Ricky Russell machine. So Paul Whibley out here racing in the XC1 today. No Ricky Russell this weekend, so that's a tough break for Ricky.
Yeah, so close to this first round, it's no good.
Yeah, Ricky, if you're listening, if you're watching out there, man, get well soon, my friend. We miss you out here. Looking forward to seeing what you can do here in 2019. So as these guys rip through the Monster Energy Monster Mile, these are some of our amateur classes here moving through now. So that was a replay on that. But boy, you think back a year ago, Caleb Russell took the win here. Stu Baylor took second, Thad third. Ben Kelly took fourth, and Josh Toth took fifth. Josh Toth moving up to the XC1 this year. Ben Kelly defending that XC2 title. DQ, you and I talked before the show. I said, who's going to take the win today? Do you want to put it out there?
I'm putting this out there. I'll put it out here right now. I think I'm calling Ben Kelly for the overall in adjusted time.
Wow.
I really think so. His height is going to be a huge advantage in these sand whoops.
You might be right. Coming from the XC2. He certainly flirted with it a lot last year.
Yeah.
I'm pretty positive he got on the top 3 He
was leading on adjusted time towards the end of the Ironman, if I remember right.
So you might be right. We'll have to see. We
If
got
not,
3
I'll
hours
beat my
to
hat.
get her sorted out here. So since DQ's with us, we actually we had a nice little mechanic feature here this weekend, and we got to take a look at the rig, and we're going to take a look right now. Lane Michaels' mechanic feature with DQ.
My name is David Quillen. Everybody calls me DQ. I guess it's just easier to say. I'm Lane Michaels' mechanic for XC1 GNCC. I also work and run a KTM and Husqvarna motorcycle shop in Indiana. Spikes KTM is what we call it. We sell KTM, Husqvarna, Cobra motorcycles. We also do WP suspension, so the cone valves and the track shocks, we stock all of that stuff. Really, we kind of just want to be at the races, and it just works, you know. There's not many shops that come to the races and actually do anything. Like, it's cool to be able to walk into any race, any national race in the country, and there's a Spikes tent, or there's a guy running our graphics, like you say, like a guy from South Carolina. You're like, he's not from Indiana, how does he have it? But it works, it's just cool. I met Thad in 2010, he was riding Yamahas. I was working with another rider. We kind of just hit it off at the beginning. We always joked and went back and forth texting and stuff. He calls me in 2013. He's like, hey, I need somebody to go to ISD. I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. So we go do that. Then he ends up, we do KR4 for 2 years on Husqvarnas. And then I kind of transitioned off to run the shop, and now he's back with the factory team, and they called me for Lane, and I was like, yeah, we can do it.
There, man. What's that like, seeing you on Racer TV there?
Definitely cool.
That's cool. That's cool. Well, hey, we're actually joined in the booth now by Ryan Holiday, the Team Green manager. And Ryan, man, you guys off to one heck of a start here in the first GNCC back for Cowie.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome, and I would like to say expected, but unexpected to see all three of those guys up front, Strang and Ashburn, and then Heath Harrison, who's a moto guy, showing up here to do a GNCC. So he's been a long-time Cowie guy off and on, so really cool to see all those guys start up front and show that at least for the first part of the race, we're here. We're back.
You're doing well. You are back, and we couldn't be happier to have you guys back here racing the GNCCs. So, Ryan, I mean, tell us, what are kind of some of the expectations you guys have for yourselves this year?
I mean, it's hard not to have too high of expectations because we've got two really good riders and a crew that's proven to be successful here and knows what they're doing. So it's really helpful to have the building blocks already in place and start with good riders and a good team. And so, like I say, it's hard not to have high expectations. But, you know, for us, we want to get the brand back into the series and show people that the product is competitive. And, you know, we just want to increase our presence here.
Well, I think you're off to a good start, and I know, you know, I think of Josh Strang. He was a guy that kind of stood out to me coming into the season. I feel like the move with the Monster Energy Kawasaki team is going to just breathe new light into his racing career. I mean, is that kind of...
Yeah, I think so.
Dead on there.
I couldn't agree more. I think, you know, he has a long history with Kawasaki, which I wasn't even aware of before I started talking to him, so that was really cool to find out his history with the brand and his family in Australia. So, yeah, I think he was looking for a fresh start, and he believed in the team and the people involved. So all of that goes a long way into building confidence, and confidence breeds success. So hopefully we can keep him happy and pumped on the bike and the whole program and getting good results.
Well, last time we checked, I believe we had two of the Monster Energy Kawasaki guys there with Team Babbitt's in the top 5. Trying to get my scoring up. Dan, if you can hear me in there, if you want to come out and take a look at this for us so we can get that figured out here. I might have figured it out. So, and then there we go. All right, so Ben Kelly, DQ, you talked about it. Ben Kelly out in front on the adjusted time there. Nice. Caleb Russell in second. Jordan Ashburn on the Kawasaki. He's in the number 3 spot, so I was wrong on that. It must have been Ashburn we saw, not Strang. I should have asked you about that, Ryan. You probably knew better than I did. Stu Baylor back in the number 4 spot. Johnny Gerard in the number 5 position. Let's see, that rounds out your top 5. So 2 XC2 guys have moved into the top 5 positions. 6th place is Trevor Bollinger. Thad Duvall back in the number 7 spot with Josh Strang in 8th. So there you go. There's your other Cowie guy into the top 10. Josh Toth making his XC1 debut here to start the season. In the number 9 spot, Mike Wachowski coming off that hole shot he got there in the XC2, rounding out your top 10. Outside of that, we'll just give a whole rundown here of the top 20. 11th place, Andrew DeLong. 12th place is Tegan Temple out of the XC2 class. Ryder Lafferty in 13th. Liam Draper in the number 14 spot. Evan Smith in 15th. Zach Hayes is in 16th. And then Jesse Ansley. Finally get to these FMF XC3 guys. Jesse Ansley leading the way in the FMF XC3 class on the 125. And how about at the 111, Husqvarna of Jason Thomas. Welcome back to the GNCC. The J-Train coming back in here, partying with us. He's in second right now. Cody Barnes in that number 3 spot in the FMF XC3. And Austin Lee, the 1-2-3, rounding out your top 20. So we got a lap in the books. Your guy Jordan Ashburn in the 3rd place position. I got to think it breathed life into his career as well. He's had some ups and downs over the last year. Love seeing him get this opportunity, and he's clearly taken advantage of it.
Yeah, Jordan was another guy, long history with Kawasaki. He was a part of the Team Green program as a kid coming up in this series, so to have the opportunity to bring him back onto the brand was really cool, and he was excited for it. And we had him out in California here just a couple weeks ago to do some testing, and ironically it snowed where he went riding out in California, so it was good to bring him out and work with the Pro Circuit guys to build his confidence in the bike, and he's super happy, so it's going well.
Yeah, I would say so. Well, fantastic, man. It's a pleasure to have you guys back with us, Ryan. Anything else you wanted to add about the team? We'll let you get back to work.
No, it's just we're happy to be here, and our debut got delayed a little bit, just like everybody else, but
yeah. Oh, so we now, it sounds like we got Jordan Ashburn moving up into second, so
very cool.
Maybe you just stay here for the whole race. He's second on the track. Maybe you stay here for the whole race and we just stick it out. Maybe he jumps up there into first.
Yeah, we could hope so, but as long as those guys meet their goals, we're happy.
Yeah, very good, man. Well, Ryan Holiday, thank you very much. It's nice to meet you. I'm Mikey, DQ over here to your side. Don't be a stranger. I'm going to be out there and about in the pits. We'll stop by, check in, make sure these guys are still doing well, man.
All right, thanks. I appreciate it.
Good luck. Thanks.
Thank you.
That is Ryan Holiday, the Team Green manager for Babbitt's Kawasaki, stopping into the booth and talking with us. So how about it? Jordan Ashburn talking about breathing life into a guy's career, both him and Strang. I'm impressed, DQ. I'm blown away. Jordan Ashburn up into the number 3 spot.
I can't say that I expected that one, but
I didn't either.
I'm happy for him. That's pretty cool.
I am too. And you called it. I shouldn't have doubted you. Ben Kelly in the number 1 spot, the number 530 KTM.
What's his lead?
So his lap time, his lead is, we're going to call it about, 10 seconds?
Okay.
Right under, it's about 9 seconds. We'll call it 9 seconds. Faster lap time than Caleb Russell.
All right.
It's a long race. It's 3
It is.
hours.
We got 3 hours. The XC2 guys seem to always put on an earlier charge than the XC1 guys.
Yeah.
I think they just hammer down earlier, and
it's got to feel good as an XC2 guy early on to get up, get in the mix with those XC1 guys. Then you know, okay, I'm doing well. I'm right where I need to be.
Yep.
So, yeah, confidence booster for him for sure. Stu Baylor in the number 4 spot in the XC1. Let's take a look and break it down by class here. So, again, Caleb Russell, your leader out in front. Jordan Ashburn, the number 2 guy. A 10-second difference between those guys. So, Caleb not necessarily pulling away in this one, but it's a pretty solid lead after 1. I was trying to take a look at the screen there. Okay, so Stu Baylor in the number 3 spot. He's only 2 seconds off the pace of Jordan Ashburn. So Rockstar guy getting in place there for their guys as they're going to be coming through this shot here in just a second. Joined in the booth now by Rodney Tomlin. Rodney, man, it's been wild. You got... You've got Ben Kelly out in front out of the XC2. You got Caleb Russell in the number 2 spot. And how about it? Jordan Ashburn in the number, well, actually, he's second on the track with the adjusted time, 3rd, I guess.
Well, pretty amazing, but honestly, like DQ said, it's not a huge and monumental surprise, and especially early in the races. Now, the thing that we got to take into account, we see this happen a lot. Rarely do we see them actually hang on and take an overall win. We've seen it on rare occasions, but the thing that we got to point out is this kid has put himself in this position so many times. Late last year, maybe he didn't have what it took to win an overall, but he's been training with Caleb Russell and his other teammate there, Josh Toth. So with that, Ben Kelly may have found what it is that he's going to need to find to actually carry this all the way through. Again, time will tell the story. We'll find out more once we go past the 2-hour mark. That's when the true tell the tape is told. Hey, we're joined in booth right now by Brock Glover from Dunlop Motorsports. And, of course, Brock, good to have you on hand. a big part of Bike Week. You were over Supercross last night. You're over here at GNCC today, man, taking it all in, I guess, huh?
Yeah, it's this is a very fun event. I love coming here every year, and to follow up the Supercross like that, it's amazing.
And right, yeah, it is, and it's just amazing how, you know, each day it seems like there's something different to do, like, and more than one place to do things. And racing seems to be a big part of the whole idea of Daytona's Bike Week, I think. And Dunlop seems to have a presence everywhere you go.
Yeah, I mean, Dunlop's pretty much the brand that's been involved in motorcycling longer than anybody, and especially in the dirt side of things. And so we cover all of our bases and make sure we certainly love the off-road community and the GNCC community. We love this motocross and supercross, both professional and the amateur. So it's we're a dirt bike company. We're a motorcycle company.
Absolutely. And with that, we've got GNCC today. We've got Ricky Carmichael Amateur Supercross, I think, qualifying going on over at Daytona International Speedway. We'll be live on Racer TV with that tomorrow. Dunlop will be a part of that, obviously. You've got I think, vintage racing at the Speedway. This is just the stuff that I know about. I'm sure that you, being with Dunlop Motorsports, knows that there's a whole lot going on for folks to do this week.
Yeah, I mean, the whole Dunlop crew, like you mentioned, I mean, the Supercross series, especially the professional one last night, that kind of kicks off the whole week. We have the GNCC today on Sunday with the amateur racing, the Ricky Carmichael amateur races at the Speedway. It also runs into tomorrow. Then on Tuesday, new for this year, as many people know, is the new vintage motocross. So there's a lot of people there, and the whole Dunlop crew will stick around for that.
All right, question is, are you riding that?
You know, I'm not, but here's the funny part is I'm actually going back to California to test some tires that are specifically some motocross tires, specifically the size for some of the older vintage bikes. There's a couple of gaps in our lineup that we're trying to fill, and we want to make sure all the vintage bikes that want to race motocross can always have a Dunlop on their bike, just like they did. Some of those bikes were built in the 60s and 70s, back to the old Dunlop sports tires, and now we still have the modern technology. I mean, it's a single thing, Rodney, that you can do to a vintage bike to make it work better, because it's modern technology, construction, compounds, etc. on an old, on your old bike. And hey, they're a big part of the suspension when you only got 4 inches of travel.
That's for sure. Just saw Caleb Russell come through the screen. I believe this is Jordan Ashburn. They are your physical leaders on the racetrack. Again, adjusted time has Ben Kelly out front. I believe we may be seeing, we got Baylor back there. And Johnny G. Gerard has been a big part of this top 5. Good to see that as well for that Canadian rider that comes down and strikes a bid quite often, recently anyway, in GNCC racing. And to see him up front batting like this, looks like maybe he's been able to develop some of the skills that's necessary to run with these guys now, I guess, huh?
Absolutely. And the one thing about this particular race in general, I mean, we've had a cold winter in North America, and I mean, it's been cold. And if anybody follows any of the form of the Supercross or that, they realize how cold it's been. There's been minus 15 degrees in Minneapolis, etc. So many of these people that and even down in Florida here, it hasn't been particularly hot. Now all of a sudden we've got the warmest day we've had in a long time. We've got one of the roughest track. I mean, this is a whooped out sand track, roots, just difficult conditions in the coolest of the weather. And today we're well into the 80s here. Almost everybody's got a little bead of sweat on their forehead. And these guys have got to figure out a way to make 3 hours out here and make it to the end, and this is the first real heat they've seen all year.
Yeah, for sure. And it's the first race, and this might be what we're looking for. We had a cold winter. Who's to say we're not going to have a hot summer? And if this is the case, we might as well lead into it. It's going to be a hot season of racing. I know that.
I know. Most of these guys were kind of hoping that the first round would be something they could, kind of shake off the cobwebs and get a good race underneath them in a little cooler environment and come down here and get ready for this. But they're just thrown right into the fire here. No question about it, literally.
Yeah, that's what it sort of feels like. All right, so Ryan Sipe's supposed to be coming through, I believe, on screen here in just a couple of moments. So Ryan back out with us. That's a pretty neat deal he's got going on. There at the Monster Mile, we see Caleb Russell now making his way in, and the amount of time that Russell was able to accumulate over the rest of the field there was at the finish line. Let's see, he had a 10-second lead over Jordan Ashburn, and that's probably about the same as it was, but here comes a few guys nose to tail. We're looking at, I think Baylor was in there, Boar was in there. Was that Bollinger? Oh, we got... That is Jordan Ashburn. Ashburn goes down. So Ashburn was being pressured by Baylor, Garrard. I think that maybe Bollinger was in there as well. But regardless, Ashburn goes down and throws the second-place position away. And that's not taking anything away from any of these riders' abilities. We just happened to catch that on camera. You talk to any of these guys, a lot of them are going down in a lot of different places. But that shows you how demanding I think this track is.
Absolutely. You can see how close they're getting to that big mud hole there, and then Jordan just stuck his Babbitt's Kawasaki there.
Is that Ben Kelly right there? That is. That's Ben Kelly. That's your XC2 leader and overall leader on adjusted time, and you can see he's well within their minute. I'm sorry, Brock.
And yeah, this section right here, you can see as the riders go through, as each more and more laps are going to go through, that rut's going to get deeper and deeper, and pretty soon the water table is going to start coming up into that rut, so they're going to have to switch. You can see there's a couple of the guys dropping into the main part of it. It's, you know, it's almost up to the axle there, so that's going to be a really tough section, and it caught Jordan off hand there. I mean, you saw his front wheel almost stopped, and he ended up tipping over.
Well, let's take a look at that again as we take a look at that rapid replay of what happened with Jordan Ashburn as he was coming through there.
Yep.
Oh, what happened? Well,
you see his foot got taken off the peg there. Once your foot's off the peg, at that point, you know, you're losing your balance. Your front wheel's starting to climb the edge of the rut, and then it just came to a stop. And as you can see, you see how deep it is, where I was talking about up in the axle there. This is only early in the race. We're barely 30, 35, 40 minutes into the race. This is going to get really tough in that section.
Well, Stu Baylor got by for second place, just an FYI. And, you know, you bring up an interesting point. I was going to talk about, you were talking about the ruts and people having to switch whenever they start getting deeper. But as this race wears on, you know, first lap or two, that might be an option. But after probably lap 3, 4, it's probably not going to be an option. I mean, it's all going to be blowed out, right?
Yeah, it will be. I mean, you'll be able to move out of that one line to a second line, a third line. But, hey, by the 2.5 hour mark, they're going to all be pretty ugly over there. So love the fact that we have a camera over there, because I think we're going to see some more tip overs, some more action
and
over there.
It could be actually maybe deciding factors of the race, too, in such situations like that.
Nice view of the drone right here, catching up, you know, the starting line, finish line, pit area here. So it's great track, and spectators here, how many times the track weaves in and out, kind of comes back to the main paddock area, so you get to see these guys many times on a 13-mile track. You know, it's not like you just get to see them once. Plus, with this coverage like this,
right. The Yamaha Live drone, I notice whenever you watch, I mean, the angles that you have, you can see the line choices and how these guys are moving around the track and trying to utilize different parts, smoother parts of the track, or the main lines or not the main lines. It's really interesting to watch how these guys roll from up here. But, yeah, certainly thanks to Yamaha. Our live drone footage has certainly made a huge difference in our coverage of GNCC. And you see how the track runs. And like you said, it goes through the pro pits here. It weaves through, and there's trees. We just go down through those trees right there. But then they get back into some more, well, I think they actually go over into the mud pit. This is a hog waller is what it's called. It's a mud bogging facility where people get their four-wheel drives, you know, those big jacked up machines, and try to bury them. So we know that there's mud holes out here, and we're trying to keep them out of them this year. But like you said, man, that sand on the outside of it, it's going to make for. I think they're going to find some mud.
And what do you think, Ryan? I mean, what do you think the water table is here? About 8.5 inches below the surface there? I mean, it's not very far down there, so it doesn't take much, as you see right here, as the riders head back into a section that we know has a couple of big water crossings, as you can see them right here. And then earlier they were talking about it. I know I saw the KTM team manager, Ante, over there with a camera taking photos of that area, and he was going to run back and tell his riders, hey, here's what it looks like from the rider's perspective, and do not go left of this stake that's in there, because it's a real deep hole. So, you know, there's, you know, these team managers are earning their paycheck too and trying to give their your riders the hot lines.
For sure. As watching, we saw, I wasn't sure, did you catch the number on that? That might have been back in the Thad Duval region, where Thad right now is running back in 7th place, and that's kind of, I don't. Oh, he is up to Caleb now. Okay, that was okay. So, but last check we had when he came through the finish line, he was in 7th place. That's pretty impressive stuff whenever you go from 7th place up to just a few seconds behind the leader like that.
Yeah, Duval did not Yeah, Duvall did not get the start he wanted, no question about it. But, you know, he's such a veteran at this. He's working his way up, and it looks like we got Jordan right there trying to.
Yeah, Jordan, I hope that a lot of wind didn't get knocked out of his sails. But, Brock, you know as well as I do, it don't take much sometimes to do it. GNCC, it may take a little more because it may take more than one spillover to knock that wind out of the sails. But on a hot day like today, you got that momentum going, you got that focus, and then all of a sudden it's broken, you know.
Yeah, I you know, no question. Like at the Supercross, and you see that happen a lot. But you know, I mean, I'm not saying these guys are tougher riders as they work their way through the mud hole here. But these guys are kind of used to tipping over here and there, not having. It's almost having impossible to have a perfect race in a GNCC. So they're used to a little bit of setbacks and still bouncing back, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. And I tell you, as we watch these, look at the multiple line choices these guys have got. And these are the areas, you know, where folks can make up a lot of time. And this might be where Thad Duvall was able to make up some time. What do you see in there?
Oh, my Lord. I mean, that takes a hardcore person to stand in the middle of a mud hole and try to get guys to go around and just sacrifice every bit of your clothing and mud and getting splashed. But GNCC spectators there, look at it, giving some pointer tips right there. They go around this spot here.
Whoa, that's gnarly.
Stuck. But that was the mud hole I was telling you about earlier that we were Ante from KTM was out there trying to help his guys figure out where to go.
Jeez, that is, oh wow, that is a swamp through there. That's crazy. But like I said, multiple line choices, that could have been maybe where Thad was able to make up some time, and several other riders will be able to.
Right here, they actually have a banner across that section to make sure they don't go through. It was a very deep hole, and it was going to swamp the bikes, so I'm glad they put that out there, and you know, not just a stake, but they actually ribboned it. But now you can see why all of our top Dunlop riders and team riders like Caleb Russell, all the KTM and the Husqvarna team, that's why they're running literally what is known as the paddle tire, the scoop tire, the MX-11 or MX-12 tire.
And I imagine, that's probably in this particular conditions would be great. And, you know, like we were saying, you know, we've been talking a lot about Thad and wondering what's going on with Thad. Well, we did have a chance to catch up with Thad. You know, remember last year he ended the season early due to the broken arm at St. Clairsville and taking the win with a broken arm. So had a chance to catch up with him before the race today, find out what's been taking place and what he's expecting here this year.
Yeah, the goal is to win always, for sure. I feel like coming in years past, I would be happy with a podium, but I feel like I've been close to winning here before, and I feel like I'm ready more this year than I ever have been, and I feel better on the bike this year. So, I mean, no less than trying to go for a win tomorrow for sure. You know, that's my job. I'm here to do, and I feel like I'm that guy that can maybe win. So, you never know where you're at the first race. You know, I feel like South Carolina kind of sets you up a little better than this because you kind of know where you need to work on for 2 weeks after South Carolina. So, but this being the first round, again, it kind of throws a curveball and it kind of opens up the door for everybody. And, you know, everybody's got a good confidence coming into this. So hopefully we can leave here tomorrow with good confidence and head to Georgia and have a good race and be healthy for sure.
I'll tell you, it certainly is good to see Thad. I watched Thad grow up through the youth ranks in GNCC, and I'm sure he was probably on your radar as a youth rider and up-and-coming rider. Once he reached that XC1 class, man, it took him a while to really find his legs, but once he has, he's really, really excelled.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely a consistent performer. He's always in the hunt. I mean, he's certainly keeping all the other riders honest here. He's a strong rider, and it's glad to hear that he sounds confident. He sounds like he's ready for the season and better than he has been in years, as he said, and hope to see have a good result today.
Monster Energy Kawasaki, that is the Babbitt's Online truck, a great look and addition to the GNCC Pro Row. We've had Kawasaki on there a few years ago, but whenever the economy crunch went, a lot of budgets went, so they kind of disappeared with a couple of other teams. But to see Pro Row now, it's just amazing. And I imagine you, as a tire manufacturer, that's got to make you guys, Dunlop, feel pretty special to be able to be a part of something like this.
Well, absolutely. I mean, you have, you know, it's been a while since I've seen some of the head brass at Kawasaki come to GNCCs personally. You know, I don't go to all of them, but to see a whole, I mean, Dan Fahey, the team manager of the Pro Motocross program, was here today. Ryan Holiday, Team Green Guy. Kawasaki has a large contingent of employees out here from the West Coast, and they're checking this out, and they're happy to happy to be out here supporting it. And
there's Ryan Sipes' trailer, the big Red Bull trailer you see in there.
Speaking of man of jack of all trades and a master of almost all of them,
right.
too. I mean,
wow, that's crazy, man.
Yeah,
I mean, this guy's doing it again.
Yep.
Out here, they came in. I think they got in at 3 o'clock this morning, Brock. Crazy. He's got a busy schedule that he's going to try to keep up this
riding
week.
motocross, riding the TT race. He's got it all. And then, hey, nobody can even question his accomplishments in ISTE. And so, yeah.
Right.
So.
Exactly. We caught up with him, I guess, earlier today as he got ready to go on this GNCC excursion.
Yeah, so we did the Supercross last night, which was it was cool. It's been a long time since I did that. So it ended up pretty well, though. Qualified well and got 14th in the main. So made it through, didn't kill myself. Short night last night and drove up here. We did the GNCC today. And this is always a tough GNCC. It's deep sand whoops and hot and gnarly, but I'm just going to do my best, man. I still think I can go fast. I don't know for how long, but I'm going to give it all I got and see what happens.
2006, I raced here, so that was fun with David Knight and those.
That's Travis Pastrana, by the way.
No, I didn't notice that.
Who was here as well earlier this morning. We'll talk a little bit with him a little later on.
Yeah.
But, that pretty interesting stuff, man. I mean, as we roll here.
I can tell you right now, I bet Ryan, the start was a little later than the 1 o'clock time that was originally called. I bet Ryan was wishing that he would have known that beforehand, could have slept in another half an hour, because that guy's sleep deprived right now. And that was a tough track last night. And he, like said, 14th place. So you got to give hats off to him to run that hard and to do that, and then come out here and go 3 hours, and then he's got to start getting ready for his TT bike. I saw that over under his tent earlier.
The funny thing is, we saw the Travis Pastrana thing pop up there, but I was about ready to liken Ryan's popularity in racing to what we see with Travis. Ryan, obviously, we've seen him do this, and last year, he's making a living doing so many different things, and he's a star in every one of them, and it's amazing. And it's kind of like, what we saw Travis Pastrana do a couple of different times over the course of time. And it was good to see Travis Pastrana here today. That was kind of really out of left field for me. I walked up to sign up this morning. Miss Rita walks up to me, she says, Travis Pastrana just signed up. He's going to be riding the Sportsman A class. Great! And I got on board, and I called the TV guys, and I said, hey, Travis Pastrana's here. And everything went silent on the radio. And I'm like 30, 40 seconds, I said, Dan, did you copy that? And he goes, yeah, I'm trying to calm these guys down, man. He says they're all excited about it. Everyone want to go interview him. Well, one got the call, and we got these words from Travis Pastrana earlier today.
2006, I raced here, so that was fun with David Knight and those guys. Honestly, the only reason I'm here after I watched the Supercross and just having a good time at the whole bike week is probably to watch Sipes this afternoon. I said, look, I'm not going to do the 3-hour course, but I'm going to cheer you on in the afternoon, so let's come out here and ride, right? No, was in pretty good shape for donations, and that was the last time I rode, except for yesterday I rode a Croom in the morning. So we're down here for Bike Week, man. We got all of our friends here, just having fun, all riding dirt bikes, and that's what it's all about. So, yeah, Roland Sands got me a death trap to ride 750cc Suzuki 2-stroke for a dirt track, so I'm just here having a good time, and family's down here, so it's been awesome.
That is, and it's awesome to have Travis. The amazing thing about it is how down-to-an-earth individual Travis Pastrana is. You would think that he would be someone that would be unapproachable, somebody that would be hard to talk to. Not at all. I think he can communicate with anybody on any level about anything, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I love the guy because his energy he's got such high energy, it makes me look calm and relaxed.
We got a battle going on here through the finish line. Let's continue that thought in just a moment. Caleb Russell just went through about 30 seconds ago, I guess. Thad Duvall about 8 seconds behind him, so he's really closed up the gap. Baylor got by, as we told you, or Jordan Ashburn a while back. We see that Bollinger got by as well, so the wind did get knocked out of his sails. So we see the new Rockstar Husqvarna rider of Bollinger up to a 4th place position right now. Josh Toth, the 206, in the 5th place position. And now Ben Kelly has checked in. He checks in leading the XC2 250 Pro class, but has dropped to a 5th place position.
Yeah, it's you talked about it earlier, Rodney. It's early. There's no question about it. I mean, everybody's trying to just set their pace, what they're comfortable at. Kelly might have thought, you know what, I'm going a little harder than I probably should. It's a long race. Maybe just settle down here. I've got my comfortable lead in the XC2 class, and let's get this thing home. And if I need to push at the end, I will, and see what happens.
It's easy, I'm sure, as a racer, first race of the year, excitement, nerves. It's probably easy to be amped up and go out there on a high energy level and expend a lot of energy without even realizing it.
Yeah, absolutely, and you can get your heart rate up too high too fast. And so, you can't run at red line for 3 hours. There's no question about it. You see the veterans have learned to pace themselves and to kind of know their own body and know how hard they can run. So and again, we talked about the temperatures. It's warm today, so we'll see what happens. Hydration is going to be an important part of it.
Most certainly is. Again, it's Russell, 8 seconds ahead of Thad Duvall, almost 9.9. Call it 10 seconds ahead of Stu Baylor in third. Big gaps here, what we're usually accustomed to in GNCC. Then we see 19.5 seconds back to Trevor Bollinger. Ben Kelly, as we said, as we look at adjusted time right there, he's only 13 seconds behind Bollinger on that adjusted time. Josh Toth is back there now. He's dropped to 6th. He is XC1 this year, remember. So he's a rookie. He's dropped to 6th after Kelly getting by. Jonathan Garrar, 969 in 7th. He is running 52 seconds back, and there's Caleb Russell. What's going on? Looks like
I just really thought it was a great shot by the cameraman there to really show how rough the track's getting, and it's much rougher than it was just early, an hour earlier. So you can see the bikes rocking back and forth there. A couple of roots probably kicking the bikes a little bit. The guys, like I said, are running the sand paddle tire, with 18-inch, so hopefully it gives a little bit more absorption on those roots. But the track's getting rough, and as they're coming in for their fuel stop right here.
There's Caleb Russell in, getting a quick splash of fuel. Looks like a drink of water, and obviously a new set of goggles. No sense of urgency whatsoever. Caleb just eases right on back out. There's Thad. Thad doesn't seem to be in any sense of urgency either. I wonder if, though, they might have picked up a little bit of time there on that pit stop, because it looked like he came out a little quicker than maybe the 9 seconds that we were looking at between he and Caleb before.
Yeah, it does look like he's a little closer there. And you mentioned there's not really so much urgency, especially when the guy in second. When you're the hunter, it's always so easy. It's much easier because he can keep his eye on the guy ahead of him. Even in motocross or any of these forms of racing, you can gauge yourself off of if they're pulling away from you or they're getting closer to you, and what kind of effort you're expelling there. So it's I like if it's not dusty, I like running second. That's what I like.
There you go. Mikey Wayne, sounds like you got a report. What's going on, buddy?
Yeah, hey guys, you guys saw Thad and Caleb Russell pitting both there. They both Caleb got the goggles on. They didn't quite get the goggles on Thad, and I know I saw Maggie running off with him to try and get the goggles to him. Not sure she got it done, so Thad may have to deal with some sand until one of his guys can get him some goggles.
Ooh, that's not going to be good.
That is not what you want to hear as a rider as you're leaving like that, to be leaving and having goggle troubles. And you kind of wonder a little bit why he pulled away. Again, he wasn't in that big of a hurry, why he pulled away if they weren't right to begin with. But, you get kind of caught up in the moment there.
Well, that might be part of he's seen Caleb going by and realized how close he was to Caleb, and if he could get out a little bit quicker, he might be, and keep him in sight. Remember, you talk about that, keeping the riders in sight. It's easier to pace off of them and things like that, and maybe even track them down and pass them. Once they get out of sight, it gets a little harder. So that might have been where Thad's mindset was, and they could always give him a set of goggles someplace out a little further in the woods, too.
And one thing, you got to keep in mind, too, you got a lot of sand on your helmet. You've got a lot of, when you're changing goggles like that, it's not hard. Kelly comes in for a pit and a stop, too. It's not hard to actually scrape the strap across the top of the helmet, dump some sand into the goggles and or off the visor, and it's like, now I've got sand inside of my goggles. These guys are as good as you get at doing this, but it still happens once in a while, and that's not something you got to be careful doing when you're doing the goggle swap.
No doubt. As we said, Ben Kelly checking in there in the pits, the KTM pits, Trail Jesters, I believe. And, of course, we got one off to the side of the track. That right there, I think he's done. He's trying to get through the string fence, it looks like. The Monster Mile might have been just a little bit too big of a monster for him.
Yeah, it looks like he maybe got into that signboard there and put a little kink in it, or maybe it was like that before. I'm not sure, but he's certainly off the track, number 613. And as you go through the list to try to find out which guy it is. It's oh yeah.
Oh,
okay.
Oh yeah, there's something
Yeah.
interesting. They are switching out camelbacks. They actually took the camelback off, and I'll tell you probably why they did that. The heat, alone the heat. The water, he's probably already expelled all the water out of it, and regardless if he has or not, that little bit of extra back there is going to hold in that heat. It's going to make it tougher to combat the temperature, so I think that might have been a pretty good move on their part.
Yeah, absolutely. I can see him doing that, and I mentioned earlier hydration is going to be an important part here. These guys are not really used to this heat and humidity, and it is humid and hot, and he's going to have to make sure that he gets enough hydration, though. You don't want to go dry here an hour into a 3-hour race.
And it wouldn't be hard to do, probably, would it?
Not at all, not in these conditions, especially if you haven't been down here getting acclimated to it for over a long period of time.
Now, you've raced a lot. Have you ever done any off-road yourself personally, Brock?
I grew up as just kind of a Southern California, San Diego. As a family, we used to go to the desert, and I actually did do a few desert races, mostly fun, and one of them I did well after I was a full factory rider, and I don't know, 3 or 4 national championships under my belt, and it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it, and it was just a weekend off kind of thing, a district desert race down in California, and they were happy to have me in some ways, but they probably weren't so happy to have me in another way. And you don't want to get in the middle of somebody chasing a championship or doing things like that. But hey, I grew up racing deserts as a kid, riding in the desert as a kid, and I still thoroughly enjoy it.
Hey, I do want to point out, I did find the 613 rider we saw getting off the track. He was a vet B-class rider out of Lawrenceville, Georgia. Drew Gorey was his name, and I'll check and see how he was doing. We'll be taking a look at some of these other classes coming up here in just a few moments as well, because we got a whole host of riders out there with us today. We had like 400 this morning, which is a big number for Florida. Nearly 300 this afternoon for this afternoon race, which traditionally is normally, about 200 normally is a big afternoon race for whatever reason, but we got a big afternoon race here today. That 613, by the way, was running 10th place in his class after one lap of racing, so heartbreaker. Maybe he's going to get back into it. We never know.
Yep, so here we're coming through the switchbacks here. You can just see, deep sand. These guys are on it hard. You can see the roost coming off the back tire, but you can start seeing the braking bumps and the berms, developing, and you see some these guys just trying to ride the edge a little bit, trying to avoid the big bumps, but you're going to see pretty soon there's not going to be an edge unless you go way out there.
Was that Kelly? It looked like a green number 1 plate.
It did look like it was hard for me to see on the glare here, but yeah, it's.
So Kelly still seems to be on the throttle out there, and with that, let's go ahead and take a look at some of these class-by-class breakdowns. We know what basically the XC1 Pro is. It's Russell Duvall, Baylor, Bollinger, and Toth, your top 5. Then Josh Strang in 6th, Jordan Ashburn in 7th, 8th, Andrew DeLong. Paul Whibley riding for Ricky Russell in 12th, and 10th is Chris Venditti.
So how many miles of bicycle riding do these the factory team crew riders get in and into a day? Do they have like a Fitbit on or something?
That'd be a good.
These guys put some miles in, making sure they've got somebody on each side of the track. Either if it's goggles, that could have been one of Thad's crew chasing down some new goggles, or who knows what it is. But it's these guys definitely. You'll see the team staffers. They're working their way around the track, and it's usually on a mountain bike.
Yeah, and a lot of them use those new Specialized bike, what we're going to be using next weekend when we go to Georgia for the brand new EMTB, the Electric Mountain Bike GNCC National Championship. They're already doing some electric mountain bike racing, but not to the degree that we're going to be doing it in. It's a whole different ball game as far as electric mountain bike racing is concerned. They got those new Specialized E-Turbo bikes down there. Spectacular. I can't wait till next weekend to see what takes place.
Now, pretty amazing, those bikes. No question about it. The suspension on those are way better than the bikes back when I started racing.
Yeah, they've got $1,000.
And speaking of suspension, you're seeing guys right here. You're starting to see some whoops developing. Some of the B and C classes here going through there. And
wow, that is so much different. Now, you watched yesterday. There's Jesse Ansley. That's your FMF XC3.
Yep.
125.
The beautiful sound of a nice two-stroke wrapping up, huh? That's fun to hear.
Yeah, it was. Whenever you hear those guys go off the line, just amazing when it's all two-stroke. But the thing that I like about two-strokes is that Loretta Lynn's, whenever they have it as the 125 Zinger race, the two-stroke race first thing Monday morning, 7:30, when they drop the gate on that, and you hear that, it just brings back so many memories. I get so many goosebumps.
Yeah.
Tears come to my eyes, man. I mean, it's amazing what the sound of a two-stroke can sound like, especially when you got 42 of them, or in this case, 10 or so on the starting line, and they're all just wicking it as hard as they can toward that first turn.
Absolutely. It's music to our ears. Guys. So speaking of the starting, I got to tell you a story. So I walked down the line, and some of the groups had gone off, and I walked down what was the Vet 40 class, right? And I looked over a couple of these guys, and they got gray hair, they mustache, they got wrinkles, they got some mileage on them. Excuse me, is this the schoolboy class? And the one guy looks at me, he starts laughing, and the other, no, it's not the schoolboy. Never mind. That's, I guess, it wasn't my delivery wasn't at the right time, But I thought I cracked myself up, Rodney, if that matters.
Hey, that matters. I do that a lot too. People don't get us funny guys sometimes.
That's right. But so we got overhead Yamaha, the live drone here picking up the Yamaha pits.
I think that's Paul Wibley getting a pit stop there. Good to see the Axeman back. His son, I can't remember his boy's name, but I call him Hatchet. So, I mean, we got the Axeman and the Hatchet, so I guess that's all I need to know is Hatchet Wibley out there. But saw him. He was racing yesterday. Paul said he had a terrible spiel.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. Said, but he still had fun and wants to do it again. So.
Yeah, that's the one thing when you get out racing these things and you sign up and you think it's a good idea. I think Jason Raines is out there too. You see some guys out there, and Jason let the whole group go, and he started dead last just to have fun. And you see that, but it's like sounds like a fun idea until you hit the ground. And you're like, oh, what am I thinking here? But these guys have such skills. Guys like a Jason Raines and stuff, he can back it way down and still have fun and be competitive. But you can see how rough this track's getting right there on the screen. I mean, it's going to get choppy, and again, we're not even halfway, and so it's going to be a challenge.
Brock, I'm going to run through some of these amateur classes. You can stick around. I know you got to go. You got to get over back down to Daytona. But, buddy, I really appreciate you stopping by. I wish you could be here the whole time. I'm having a lot of fun talking with you, man. This is a lot of fun to watch this race. But I really appreciate you stopping by. Dunlop support, appreciate that as well. And just the whole gamut and the whole ball game that you bring, man. We appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate that, and thank you very much. And kind of thinking this might not be the last GNCC race by any means I attend this year. I got a few on my calendar already, and it's going to be fun.
There's Trevor Bollinger going through, and I can't wait to see you. Come back to Racer TV when you do, okay?
Thank you very much.
All righty, that is Brock Glover, the legendary motocross hero himself, and he is taking off back down to the Ricky Carmichael Amateur Supercross and all the other great things going on at Daytona Bike Week this week, and we are checking things out here on the race course itself. We got 6.5 mile marker here for these riders, so you can see some of these guys are getting a little bit spread out. Only about 20 seconds though. Trevor Bollinger, if you do the math, is about 30 seconds off the pace of Caleb Russell right now. Ben Kelly back there just a little bit more as we look in this overall on adjusted time now. 9 seconds behind Trevor Bollinger on adjusted time. I may have miscalculated that a few moments ago. The 13 seconds, I think, is between Kelly and Toth. It's 9 seconds between Bollinger and Kelly. So we see what the difference there is on those adjusted times. But that's what the top 5 is looking like. Now let's go class by class. And let's take a look first at the XC1 Pro class so we can let you know who all those guys are that are up there. Russell, Duvall, Baylor, Bollinger, Toth, who is 6th overall, is 5th. Then we got Josh Strang in 6th, Jordan Ashburn in 7th, 8th place Andrew DeLong, 9th place Paul Wibley, 10th place Chris Venditti. And looking back, we're a couple minutes back to that 10th place position. By the way, 24, Heath Harrison, the rider that got the hole shot out there, and I think he was a moto supercross, arena cross type guy. Heath Harrison out of Alabama. He's running in 11th place right now. Ryan Sipes with 1 lap in has 12th place position in that XC1 Pro class. And we'll look at XC2 250 Pro in just a few moments. But right now we got one of our XC1 Pro class racers who's not racing, who is a top 10 racer as I was going down through. And I noticed that you weren't on my list. You and about 3 or 4 others. Ricky Russell is out. Grant Baylor is out. And you, Lane Michael, are out. Corey Buttrick out. I don't know what's going on there. Something happening in this offseason. You come up, you don't have cast on, brother, but you've got ace bandages from the tips of your fingers all the way up to your biceps. What's going on?
Yeah, so it was kind of a process, but I had a training incident, did a road bike race on a bicycle, and ended up getting taken out. And, yeah, I broke a collarbone, Had surgery on it right away, but there's Bollinger. But yeah, unfortunate deal. Training incident, broke a collarbone, had surgery, and
this doesn't look like collarbone.
This is not. This is self-inflicted here. I was already out. I've been struggling with arm pump for quite some time. It's kind of a lot of people can kind of see.
Right.
That's why my results, I feel, haven't been so good. But yeah, so I was been debating it. As soon as I did the collarbone, I made the call and got scheduled in for arm pump surgery, and we had it done Thursday. So
wow.
A couple weeks and
no arm pump yet.
Right now, yeah. Yeah, no. Hopefully, I'm looking for Steel Creek.
Okay. So you'll be able to be back pretty quick then.
Steel Creek. I'm right now. I'm at 5 weeks for the collarbone.
And you got a new look this year, don't you?
It's by myself, but yeah, it's kind of had to do my own gig with KR4. You know, they had some issues and had to pull out, so just kind of me. Husky stayed with me, which was great.
Good.
I had a 2-year deal with them, so they stayed with me, and yeah, just gotta kind of had to put some pieces together and you know, reach into my
let me ask
pocket,
you.
so.
You know, sometimes some people prosper better whenever you've got the pressures and well, I won't say pressures, but the team behind you, which sometimes creates a lot of pressure, while others are better loners. You know, they do a better job going out and doing their own thing out of their own vehicles and stuff like that without all that other influence. What do you find yourself being? What's the best situation for you, I guess, is what I'm asking.
It's hard to say. I mean, yeah, when you're with a team, it's probably more pressure. I mean, both the teams I've been on with Coastal and KR4, it's kind of been they're pretty laid back. Like, I know the factory teams, like, there's that pressure, but I mean, that's where I want to be. It's where I feel like I should have been already. It's just, yeah, it's taken me a little longer to kind of put things together and get some things figured out, which is unfortunate. But I mean, well, it's not from lack of trying.
No,
it's just
and it's
trial
not.
and error.
And if you take a look at Thad, I mean, Thad is a perfect example. Kind of the same scenario situation that you're faced with right now, if you want to look, if you want to be honest.
Yeah, Thad was definitely, he had a bigger name and was obviously, he still won some championships. And, you know, like the XC2 one that I just kind of, every year it seemed like something happened and I was just never there by the end of it. But, yeah, no, it's okay. Like, I had really good spirits this year. I was riding really good in preseason and training was going good. It's just, I was struggling with arm pump even in training and practicing, so like that was already on my mind, pretty frustrated coming into the year and was going to have to deal with it. And I mean, obviously, unfortunately, like I got hurt, and but while I was down, I went ahead and had this
took
fixed.
Advantage of it, yeah.
Yeah, so you know, it's real positive. I'm definitely looking forward to getting back out there. My bike's, it was working really good before the injury, so.
Awesome. And I'm glad that we're going to see you back at Steel Creek. Lane Michael in booth with us right now. He is XC1 Pro Class racer, and we're watching out near the FMF PowerPoint right now, Hollywood, which is one of our spotters, letting us know that Caleb Russell, our leader, on his way in right now, and he's got company. Is that lap traffic behind him?
That is Thad Duvall and also Stu Baylor right on it.
Wow, I was just getting ready to say, is that lap traffic, or did these guys close that gap up? They only had about, 10 seconds or so that they had to close up, but wow, that's pretty impressive as we approach the halfway point of this race. Well, we're just over an hour and 10 minutes or so now into this one, so be able to do something like that, that's quite an accomplishment, huh?
Yeah, for sure. Caleb's tough. I mean, obviously I was riding with him and Ben Kelly this offseason. They were both riding phenomenal, Ben especially. And, yeah, it's I knew Thad would be good. He's always great, obviously, and he's getting that confidence to run with Caleb and Stu. I mean, all these guys are good. Like, we're saying, like, any of these guys can, like, win races now, I feel like. And, obviously, you're going to have the ones that rise to the cream of the crop. But
no doubt. There is Bollinger checking. I'm going to tell you right now, no, Caleb Russell hasn't slowed down. Thad Duvall and Stu Baylor sped up because they have put a huge gap now on Trevor Bollinger. It's gone from 19.5 seconds closer to probably 35 seconds now between that third and fourth place position. So they've got the hammer down right now.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive to watch.
Toth, looks like Toth's reeling in on Bollinger as well.
So right now, watching this FMF PowerPoint, we have 2 laps complete. As far as the top 20 is concerned, we are looking at all XC1 and XC2 250 Pro Class riders except for one. We now have FMF XC3 125 class leader Cody Barnes out in the number one position, or in the number one position in class. He got the whole shot. He's 15th place overall, and that's saying a lot, I think, for a 125 against these 250s and 350s in these conditions, especially.
Oh, 100%. I'd hate to be on a 125 out here. There's it's got to be tough. He's riding really good. They're pretty far up in there in XC2 guys.
Yeah, there's Josh Strang. I don't know, did he get around? Did you see Johnny Gerard go by, or?
Johnny Gerard would be ahead of him on corrected time, so he would not physically have gone across the screen yet.
All right. So, well, that in position, he's there. Well, folks, I tell you what, looking at a beautiful, sunshiny Florida, the sands are great, the water holes are great. That's one of those big mud bogs here at the Hogwaller, a part of the Moose Racing Wild Boar GNCC. We've got a whole lot more racing to go. Stick around. GNCC Live continues after this.
The halfway point is here, and these riders have endured over an hour now of hard battling through the woods at extremely high heart rates, the type the average athlete couldn't even fathom for this level of distance. Can they stick with it to the end? Don't click that X. GNCC Live on RacerTV.com continues after this.
Your bearings shoulder the burden whenever you tow, haul, or stop the gas. AMSOIL delivers powerful protection for bearings and other critical components so you can drive with confidence. To demonstrate, an independent lab put AMSOIL synthetic motor oil head-to-head against a leading competitor in a 100,000-mile test. AMSOIL provided far superior wear protection and kept engine bearings looking like new. Get your truck the protection it deserves at amsoil.com/auto.
On March 14th, inside the Daytona International Speedway, the 2019 American Flat Track Championship begins. The fastest growing sport on two wheels returns to battle on March 14th for the 2019 Daytona TT. Reserve now at AmericanFlatTrack.com.
Even when you're the best, you never stop striving to be better. The all-new from the ground-up 2019 Yamaha YZ250F is available at LoJack Cycle Sales, alongside the all-new
I'm a junior pro surfer from Maui, Hawaii. I actually tried to homeschool in 8th grade and just didn't meet my needs. I came to On Track in 9th grade, and from the beginning I really liked it.
The mission at On Track School is to make academic success completely possible for each and every student while they're out pursuing their personal goals.
Everything is just super easy with On Track. I get to take my computer on the road whenever I need to. It makes it very easy for me to get all my work done.
If you're looking for a program that provides flexibility and a program that you can take anywhere that fits your lifestyle, then On Track is for you. So come check us out at ontrackschool.com and go get it.
We are American Motorcyclists. We are members of the American Motorcyclist Association. Racers, fans, and crew. We come together for this sport we love, to race together, to grow together. We start young and not so young. We race motorcycles and ATVs. We become friends, we become family. We compete for weekend bragging rights and national championships. We make memories on the toughest off-road courses in the country and on the best motocross tracks in the world. Some of us aspire to the speed and poise of road racing or the fierce competitiveness of American flat track, and we honor our greatest champions in the AMA Motorcycle Hall of Fame. Through it all, we cheer, we win, and we lose. We are racing. We are the AMA. Race with us. Be part of the greatest sport in the world. Be an American motorcyclist. Join us today at www.amajoin.com/join-now.
And welcome back to GNCC Live. Rodney Tomlin joined now by Johnny Gallagher and also our own Mikey Waynes out and about. And we are here live from Palatka, Florida for round number 1 of the 2019 AMSOIL GNCC Series presented by Specialized Bicycles. The 45th running, Johnny Gallagher's 25th anniversary as an XC1 Pro Class racer, and probably what, about your 5th season as an announcer here at Racer TV?
Yeah, that's a good question, honestly. I don't know the answer to that one. I think, what did we start this in 2011? I think we did a couple shows.
Yeah.
Then 2012. I think I've been doing this full time since 2012 or 13, so actually maybe 6 or 7 years.
Wow, so a jack of all trades, and welcoming Johnny here to the booth. Watching the FMF PowerPoint right now, we are an hour and 15 minutes into this race. Johnny, we've been watching, we've been talking a little bit. We had Brock Glover in for a little while. Ryan Holiday was in. David Quillen and Mikey Waynes went over several things and talked about a lot. But nobody's really talked to anybody that's really been on that racetrack under these conditions. And I just got to know, what is it really like out there? I mean, we talk about how rough and rugged it looks, and we talk about how gnarly it is, you know, and we can see a little bit through the cameras. But, I mean, the camera, just don't do it any justice.
Absolutely not. The camera does not even begin to do justice to the terrors that lurk in the pines and the palmettos of this wild boar facility. I mean, awesome facility, great. You know, great to be down here in Florida, obviously opening up the season for rescheduled round 1. But you know, couldn't ask for better weather, couldn't ask for better conditions, but the track itself is a cruel, cruel, cruel beast. It is absolutely brutal. I've never seen a Florida track that got as rough, as quick, and then continued to deteriorate the entire race as what we're racing on this weekend.
And I thought one of the worst situations, well, I wouldn't say worst, but one of the tougher situations. I don't want to use a negative connotation in any way, shape, or form. But my first GNCC in Florida experience was 2002. I think we were down at, what was that?
2002 would have been at Curtin Ranch in Okeechobee, Florida.
Yeah, Okeechobee, Florida. That right there, I guess it was more whoops than anything, but that was a pretty gnarly track, I thought, as well.
It was rough for sure. I mean, Florida in and of itself is just pretty rough conditions to ride a dirt bike or a four-wheeler in. You know, the sand gives way, you get deep ruts, you get whoops, you get some square edge stuff, and you know, it's not. I don't know that there's anywhere in Florida that if you pound enough laps on it, it's not going to get rough. But here at Hogwaller, this year specifically, and I'm going to go ahead and make some, you know, generalizations and some assumptions. I really honestly believe it's based on the fact that, you know, the water table is a little bit higher than normal right now. The sand is a little bit heavier than normal because it's holding some moisture. And what it's doing is it's actually allowing the sand to stay together and stay kind of clumpy rather than loamy and kind of flow like water does. And it's just making these square edges and these holes that just swallow your bike. Caleb Russell on screen coming in. He's working his way in, complete now for lap number 3, and he is still leading the way. Looks like Thad Duvall's still hot on his heels, and we'll see. I think that was Stu Baylor?
Yes.
It was hard to see.
It was Stu Baylor. Right. It is 29:19 lap time for Caleb Russell. He had a 2.4-second lead over Thad Duvall, who turned a 29:13. Stu Baylor, the 5:14, 2.1 seconds behind Thad Duvall, and he turned a 29:05. So he was about 9 seconds or so faster than the guy in second, who was faster than the guy in first. So this is going to get interesting, I think, as it goes on. But right now, something very interesting as well is the fact that we got Mikey Waynes in the pits, and I believe that he might be talking with Ryan Sipes. Is that right?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Rodney. Down here with Ryan Sipes. Ryan, man, not necessarily the end you wanted to the GNCC, man. What happened out there today?
Well, I've been kind of nursing the shoulder injury. I've been trying to pretend that it was okay, and I've been getting through with Supercross and stuff. And last night, I think I was just running on adrenaline. It didn't really hurt at all last night. I woke up this morning and I was having a tough time with it. But again, I just want to kind of pretend it was okay. The first deep sand whoop we hit, it was over for me. I finished the lap, but I couldn't hang on. So I guess we're gonna go get it checked out. As bad as I hate that, I got another race in 3 days, but you know, I got to go get it checked out because it wasn't safe for me to be out there.
Well, you're absolutely right, man. I'm sure you're going to be out there at the flat track, though, right? This is not going to stop you for sure.
I'm going to do everything I can, for sure.
All right, man. So, Ryan, what have you got in store for yourself this year? I know last year you did a little bit of this. This year it's even bigger.
Yeah, so this year we added some Supercross, and also I'm going to do a couple hard enduros. So that's going to be a whole new challenge for me. But doing a bunch of TT still, some motocross and straight rhythm again. So a whole bunch of different stuff, and try to be as good as we can at all of it.
All right, Ryan, thanks for coming out and joining us. Always good to have you here at the GNCC. Ryan Sipes there, guys.
Thank you much, Mikey, and Ryan. Always a joy and a treat to have around, and little different look for Ryan this year. But Johnny, he's one of those guys, man, that he has fans across the board in the motorcycling industry. No matter if you're a motocrosser, whether you're a woods rider, or now a TT rider, I mean, he has fans across the board in this sport.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's cool to see. It's cool to see Ryan be able to. Do we have a new leader? Looks like Thad Duvall. Is taking over the lead. Stu Baylor now in second. We don't see Caleb Russell. He may be just off camera, folks, so don't panic just yet or start celebrating if you're not a Russell fan. There he is in that third place spot. So Caleb in third. You got Stu Baylor in second, and Thad Duvall leading the way. So a little shakeup in the top three there, Rodney.
Wow, crazy, and not necessarily a surprise either, to be honest with you. And I'm not taking anything away from Caleb Russell. I'm just mentioning the fact that those two were coming with some sincerity, I believe, in what they were doing. And Stu Baylor, I'm honestly surprised that he hasn't gotten around, according to lap times, gotten around Thad Duvall. As we always know, it's easier to catch a rider than it is to get around him. So, but this is a long race course, and a lot of things can happen. They just got into this. We're about, the 1 mile marker probably about right now, I'd say.
Yeah, they're about the 1.5 where they're at. We'll see them actually popping into VP Fuels Pro Row here in just about the next minute. They've already crossed over the road. They're in the little swamp section, and they are working their way towards our VP Fuels Pro Row. Should see them here in less than a minute. They will be on screen and physically in the pits. We do know last lap, I know both Caleb Russell and actually all of our top three did stop, and here they come now. Now look at this. Stu Baylor leading the way. He's gotten around. Now it's Baylor leading, Duvall in second, and in third place is Caleb Russell.
Not a surprise, I'm telling you. Stu's riding with some ferocity right now, there's no doubt, and he is very fierce. But the question is, and he looks great. Have you seen Stu? He's lost a lot of weight. He's toned up quite a bit. Looks like he's obviously been doing the diet. He's been doing the training regimen. The question is, can he? I mean, and he's one of these guys. We've seen him do it all the way through the youth ranks, through the amateur ranks, into the XC2 ranks, and even into the pro ranks, man. I mean, he is one of those guys that is just a mad terror. I mean, he'll go out there and just rip it apart. But in these conditions, under these temperatures, is he going to be able to maintain that? I have to think it's going to be tough for anybody at any physical conditioning level right now.
Absolutely. I mean, with any of the top three or any of the top 20, they're going to be pushing themselves to the limit to even run this pace for an hour, let alone 2, and then they're still going to have another hour left after that. So to go 3 hours at this pace and this level of exertion, everybody's going to be cashed out at the end. The question is, which of the three of these guys, or potentially some of the guys behind them, are going to have the most gas in the tank at the end? And unfortunately, we can speculate all we want, but the reality of it is we're not going to know until it comes down to the wire and we see a checkered flag wave. But to answer your question, yes, Stu Baylor could hypothetically win this race. I think he's trained hard enough. He's put in the work. Stu's known for being very strong at the beginning of the year. Obviously, this being round 1, he's won our opener before. Did it just 2 years ago at the season opener in South Carolina. So he's definitely capable of it. Will he get it done today? He's got 2 of the best in the business hot on his heels. We're going to find out soon enough.
Most certainly will. And there is Ben Kelly. Ben Kelly, the number 530. I was just watching timing and scoring. He just went through pro pits himself. But we were talking about Bollinger's time at a 29.05. We were talking about Duvall's time at a 29.13, which was 6 seconds faster than Caleb Russell. And, of course, about 8 seconds faster was Baylor. But look at this. Another 5 seconds faster than that is Ben Kelly, the XC2 Pro 250 class leader there. And Ben Kelly is starting to climb his way back up through the overall ranks. He was running first overall there for a little bit, dropped off the 5th. Now he's back up into a 4th place position overall. And if he can steadily ride these kind of fast laps like this, he might be able to position himself again to be in that market for a top 3, or maybe even pushing for that win again today, depending on how things unfurl.
Yeah, no major surprise there. I mean, Ben Kelly obviously shocked the world last year with his performances starting at the very beginning of the season. He really honestly just got stronger as the season went on, culminating with which, no disrespect to anybody else, but what should have been a win, overall win at Ironman, were it not for a kind of a phantom issue with the front wheel. I think the ghost in the machine got to him. He knew he had that XC2 title on the line. He started, hearing things and feeling things that weren't necessarily there, and to be on the safe side, they swapped out a wheel. Props to Stu Baylor, obviously getting that win, earning it. But Ben Kelly was truly the man of the day up until the last lap when he swapped out that wheel. So, no big surprise to see, again, Stu leading. I mean, he won our last race at Ironman. No big surprise to see Ben Kelly up there in the overall.
Do you think that was some inspiration for Stu to be able to close out the win at the end of the year like that for the offseason to get himself prepared for the upcoming
Sure,
year?
absolutely. I mean, if you're going to win one, you want to win the last one of the season because you get to keep those bragging rights all off-season.
But the one thing that he did point out, and maybe he didn't take this into account all season, and maybe he did, I don't know. He said this, you know, I won, but Caleb or Thad wasn't here, so I don't know if he really didn't feel for sure that he had won. He knew he won. Obviously he won, but in his mind he wonders. He feels like he could have beaten him that day, but he don't know for sure. But maybe he convinced himself he could have, and that's when we've got that fire that's burning through the winter and into this first round of racing.
Well, that there's really just the story of a true competitor. I mean, Stu is, he wants to win. He wants to be the best. He's going to push himself, push his equipment, push his team and the people around him to be the best. And, in his mind, whether it's a reality or not, he feels that there's an asterisk on that performance and that win at Ironman. Obviously, we know record books don't have asterisks. That's not how it works. Stu Baylor won the race, earned it. Looks like they're making some suspension adjustments to, I believe that's Jordan Ashburn's factory Babbitt's Monster Energy Kawasaki. Ashburn coming out of the gate strong in second place on lap 1, and then unfortunately he's been kind of putting on a hard fade here as the race goes on.
Got a great start. I mean, we had 3 Kawasaki's to start the race off today. I don't know that I've ever seen that, at least in my tenure since 2002 that I've been to every race. I can't ever remember seeing 3 Kawasaki's, 1, 2, and 3, taking whole shot in the early lead like that.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's been a long time since we've had the big green machine here, and it's good to have them back. Obviously, the healthier the pro row is, the healthier the series is, and having those guys here and trying to really, we got Ben Kelly on screen here. He's out, looks like he is working his way up through. He is our XC2 leader and is up into, as we know, that 4th place overall position. Now, we were talking about Ben a moment ago, and we'll go back to the Kawasaki Team Green thing here. You know, with Ben right now, 2 of the 3 laps so far, he's turned the fastest lap. Yeah. It was only that second lap that he lost all that time. And judging by the way he looked when he came in, I think he missed a line somewhere, got off into the brambles, got himself stuck, had to do a little lifting, and lost gobs of time because he was ahead of Josh Toth at the end of lap 1 and then was well over a minute behind him the next lap. And now he's actually reeling Toth back in physically, and he is already back ahead of him on corrected time, which is our 5th place rider in that XC1 Pro class. So I think something happened there. Obviously, we won't know till the race is over and we get to talk with Ben. But he's back on track, back on the gas, and making up a lot of time. You know, depending upon just how hard those top 3 push each other, it wouldn't be out of the question to see Ben Kelly work his way up in there and, like you said, battle for an overall podium position by the time this is all over. Now on screen to segue right back into our Monster Energy Kawasaki Babbitt's Online team, there is Josh Strang. The 114, the freight train, Josh Strang, he's been riding very well, says he really likes that new green machine, liked it when he rode it a few years ago, said he's happy to be back with those guys, with that team, with that bike, and said it just really matches his riding style well. Putting in a solid performance so far today. I know he wants to be a little bit further up there. Guaranteed he wants to be battling for a podium or a win, but had an opportunity to talk to him at another race last weekend, and he said, look, you know, for us, where we're at with this team, don't know exactly what to expect. He said, but I can tell you right now, I feel good. I like the circumstances and the team around me. He said, I think it's going to be a good year for me.
Most certainly, and obviously so, man. I mean, he's had some good opportunities in the last few years, obviously with Rockstar Energy, Husqvarna, and so forth. But making the switch over to a new team and working with Freddie Andrews, and Freddie comes back from the old school day, and the deep green talent that we've got going on there in that team that they are building on the Babbitt's Online Monster Energy Kawasaki team is pretty impressive. Seeing these guys, Josh Strang and Jordan Ashburn as the lead guys, well, it's pretty cool that Josh Strang continues to live the life of luxury, man. He came over from Australia, he started out with Suzuki. He had that little bit of a downfall, but I mean, he's had factory rides basically pretty much ever since that, except for 1 or 2 years, and he gets another one. And wow, I know you look at that big Babbitt's Online Team Green Kawasaki rig on Pro Row, and you think, that looks a little different than the rest of them. What's special about that one? And, well, the Racer TV crew caught up with him, and we, of course, got our edition of GNCC rigs featuring Josh Strang's rig.
G'day, I'm Josh Strang here in Florida, GNCC, for the Racer TV Rig Tour. This year, the new Babbitt's Online Monster Energy Kawasaki, the KX450, new whip for me, so I'm pretty pumped about this thing. Got electric start, nice and fast. Fires up good. Hopefully it starts out good tomorrow or today for the race, so that'll be good. Come inside, we'll check it out. We got well, here we got Jordan's bike too. I think he's out walking the track right now. And we got the team, little man, the wife, the dog, mechanic, everyone eating. Boys, you guys are interrupting me. Dinner time. So honestly, this is the first GNCC for us in the rig, so this is probably the third time I've been in here. So we can, well, I know it's in this one. We got in here the new rule this year for mountain bikers, mountain biking the course. We got a good rule. We wear helmets now bicycling, so Bell Helmets hooked us up with that. I think we got enough in there to supply for the whole team, so that's cool. I mean, we got the food here. Honestly, I'm not 100% sure. Let's have a look. What do we got? 450 graphics, that's what we need. Oh, she's empty. See, I don't even know. Let's have a look. This might be a piston. Oh yeah, it's a piston. Let's open this up real quick. Make someone mad. Oh yeah, that's what you want. All those people buying parts. There we go. 450 piston right there. Stock, genuine. Genuine's best. So I think. Actually. But like I said, this truck for the GNCC team is new for us, so I think the boys are still filling it out every weekend. Every weekend we come in here, there's boxes sitting in here, and they're trying to fill it up as we go. So new year and a new team. I mean, you gotta fill it up and make sure there's stuff in here. Up here we got this is where the business meeting happened, I guess. Hopefully I don't have to end up in one of these chairs, get in trouble. We got a toilet, and then somewhere in here. Oh, this is where you want to come, up in here. It's a little couch and a cool little viewing platform from up here. So maybe the boss will get up here tomorrow when we're racing, get it cooling, air conditioning. I'm Josh Strang, and you're watching Racer TV.
Wow, that's pretty. That is brand spanking new right there, Johnny G, and that's good stuff for Josh Strang. Good to see the Babbitt's Online Monster Energy Kawasaki team stepping up to the level that they have, and the support with the support for Josh Strang, and just the presence that they have here at GNCC.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the more factory teams we have here, and the more support you have for the riders, obviously the better it is for everybody. So definitely, those guys are stepping up their game, and stepping up their game. There is. That is Caleb Russell on screen, and it looks like he has now retaken the lead, possibly, or maybe Stu Baylor is out in front. We know Stu Baylor was out front. Well, it was Baylor, Russell, and Duvall. Yeah. And I think we must have missed Stu Baylor. We must have not been looking at the screen, Rodney. Stu Baylor, we're going to assume, still out front there at the Monster Mile. Second place, Caleb Russell. Third place, Tad Duvall. Now, those guys are going into a section of track that's about 2 miles long that the morning that 10 a.m. race, the amateurs don't run. And let me tell you, the Monster Mile truly is a monster. It is. It's really rough in there, and that's about the only section of the track, I believe, that didn't get bulldozed after our race yesterday. They wanted to leave it gnarly, and they wanted to give those guys some little presents, so they left them some big holes, some roots, and it's pretty gnarly in there. So those guys right now are probably looking at about 4 to 5 minutes that they'll be in there, and we'll see them pop back the other direction, just on the other side of the Monster Mile.
Right. So and then after they leave the FMF PowerPoint, I think I'm going to maybe jump into some amateur stuff there, and you can go get us something cold to drink. I'm dying here if you hitting around there, Johnny. But yeah, taking out this Monster Mile again. Hollywood giving us the reports, and you can just watch his reaction and know that there's a rider coming. And there you go,
Trevor Bollinger.
Yep.
Trevor Bollinger still in that fourth place spot physically. We do know that Ben Kelly has eclipsed him on elapsed time. from that XC2 Pro Lights class, at least at the last check and at the end of lap 3. So Ben Kelly would be one of the next riders we should see. Actually, Josh Toth should be the next rider that we see physically, the 206 machine in his XC1 debut on that factory FMF KTM. And there is Toth right there. So Toth still physically 5th, still trying to track down Trevor Bollinger, and he's got a little shadow coming here pretty soon in the number 1 factory FMF KTM, I'm sorry, Trail Jesters KTM of Ben Kelly on that number 1 machine, and he's trying to track down his buddy that did a lot of battling with last year. He's got him on corrected time, but he's still got to get to him physically.
You know, I can't say that we could count him out for that because he has certainly shown some speed, I think, here throughout these first 3 laps of racing, and working on obviously lap number 4 here as we are an hour and 36 minutes into this race. The Moose Racing Wild Boar GNCC, Palatka, Florida, 86 degrees outside, Johnny Gallagher, and I'll tell you, man, what a beautiful facility. It's the hog waller. You see a lot of water spots and stuff around you. You wonder, what is that all about? Are you guys racing through the swamps of Florida? Well, not necessarily. What we're racing through is an area that has been designated for recreational mud bogging in 4-wheel drives and things like that. So that's why you see a lot of the water. But, man, there's so much beautiful terrain out there to ride upon.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, this place is open on weekends, and they have a lot of events, and I think they're even open sometimes during the week. But it is a phenomenal facility. You know, you can see plenty of room for parking for all of our top teams and pro riders, and then you've also got the you know, the sprawling pits behind it there for the amateurs. You've got the big mud bog where they have the hog waller. I know the weekend of the Super Bowl they have what's called the Super Bog here. I know quite a few people that came out for that, being that we live down here for the winter. As soon as you tell people that you're going to hog waller to race, they say, oh, you race mud trucks? You race mud four-wheelers? I said, no, not exactly, but oh, we was out there for the Super Bog. So that's a big thing, and definitely a first-class facility here, and always pumped to come back and get to enjoy most of the rough sand and thankfully only just a little bit of the mud bog.
There you go, exactly, that's for sure. Johnny, let's take a look real quick at the top 20 after 3 laps of racing, about 10 minutes out from seeing these guys back at the finish line. Caleb Russell, Thad Duvall, Stu Baylor, that's the way they came through, but it, we know now, has changed. Duvall was up, Baylor was in second, Russell dropped back to third.
Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. There is Caleb Russell on screen, and in front of him is Stu Baylor, so now he's right behind Stu Baylor. And before we saw Caleb Russell, but no Stu Baylor, but they have dropped Thad Duvall. Thad Duvall did just come through on screen. We missed him there. I saw his helmet. That was him. So our third place rider, but he is about 7 or 8 seconds behind. So we've got Stu Baylor leading the way, Caleb Russell hot on his heels, and about 7 or 8 seconds back is Thad Duvall. So you got to wonder, there was a lot of lappers coming through there as well. Did something happen in that FMF PowerPoint section where, or I'm sorry, that Monster Mile after the FMF PowerPoint that spread those guys out just a little bit and allowed Caleb to catch right back up to Stu?
Well, we've seen it earlier in the race taking place, so it wouldn't be surprising to see it later in the race. Actually, less surprising to see it later in the race than earlier in the race, honestly. So, no, yeah, that's probably a likelihood, Johnny. And as we continue to look at these top 20, Ben Kelly, after adjusted time, is running in the 4th place position overall. Trevor Bollinger in 5th. Josh Toth, the 206, is now 6th overall. 7th is Josh Strang, the 114. Andrew DeLong riding on that new Honda, the Phoenix Racing Honda, in 8th place. And there's something good to see back. I mean, we have had some Honda support with Johnny Campbell Racing over the course of the last couple of years. We saw Trevor and Austin Lee work their way through that program. But to see the magnitude at which Honda is coming at now, they've got ATV racers out there. We saw some guys that do both Moto and GNCC, Grayson Eller and Noah Mickelson. Hayden Mickelson doing some 4x4 stuff yesterday. Joel Hetrick will be racing for Phoenix Honda in the ATV side of things. And they also have a Supercross and an arena cross team and a motocross team that they're going to be trucking around the country. Plus, as we said, the Phoenix Honda racing team with Andrew DeLong. And what a great opportunity for Andrew DeLong. I had a chance to catch up with him on Quad Radio and do a Two-Wheel Tuesday. And, man, a lot of great information and got to the meat of a lot of things. But getting down to it, man, this is a great opportunity for Andrew DeLong. He knows it, and I think it may have come at the right time, too.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Andrew obviously had a lot of good rides back in oh, there is Ben Kelly. He's really closed up on Josh Toth now. He's just a few seconds off him. So he's hard on the throttle trying to make up time. And you got to wonder at what point
does the FMF KTM team give Ben Kelly the memo and say, hey, bud, back her down. You got to win XC2 races. But I guess, they're going to let the boys take the gloves off and play, and maybe in his mind he wants to go after that top 3 of Caleb Russell, of Stu Baylor, Caleb Russell, and Thad Duvall. And, you can't blame the kid for having dreams, and he's certainly shown he's capable of it.
Yep, that's absolutely true.
But, yeah, Andrew DeLong's got a great opportunity there with that Phoenix Off-Road Honda racing team. Definitely kind of an unconventional team. You got some outside funding and sourcing there, and, he's chose to support GNCC and ATV Motocross, and also, Arena Cross team as well. And I think they were going to have a Supercross team and then don't.
They have an East Coast.
Okay. Yep. One of our XC2 riders, Hunter Neuwirth, is out for the day. Looks like he's going to call it good. Had enough. Looks like one of our other XC2 riders, Jesse Grum, see his bike on the stand there as well. So those guys parked next to each other, and now they're both parked next to each other watching the race unfold.
Florida's taking its toll. There's no doubt about that. I'm going to continue real quick with this top 20 so we got an idea what's going on. Jonathan Garrar, is that how you say that? Gerard in 9th place. Jordan Ashburn, you think I'd know that. I never can remember for whatever reason. But Ashburn is back to a 10th place position. How about Jordy, man? He got off to a really good start. And though he had his struggles and went down a couple times and lost back, this might be another great and golden opportunity for this young man's program and life and career as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we were just talking about that Honda team, and then obviously the Babbitt's Online Kawasaki team as well. And, this is, I don't really know how to say this, but this is the first time in a long time that we've had more rides than we have riders. Literally every XC1 rider has a factory ride. And there's quite a few factories, other, I guess you wouldn't say that aren't the big 5 that couldn't get riders this year. There were not riders available for them to race XC1.
I know. I talked to a few people. Hey, I had some people calling me up and saying, hey, man, what's your eye? What's your thoughts? Who's some of the up-and-comers? We're having to look to XC2 right now, because like you said, everybody's taken up. And
and it's great for the sport. You look at you've got factories like Beta and Gas and even Sherco that are not able to have XC1 riders because there are no more XC1 riders that don't already have factory rides. So it's a great time to be an XC1 rider for sure. There is Jesse Ansley. Looks like he has kind of backed it down quite a bit. I know he had a shoulder injury just a week or so ago and was hard on the throttle for the first couple laps, but he is off the pace now and looks like he is falling back in that XC3 Pro FMF XC3 Pro-Am class. So you've got Ashburn with another shot at a really good factory ride there. Again, Andrew DeLong, Josh Strang finding a new home. It's a good time to be a GNCC XC1 or even XC2 racer. A lot of opportunities and a lot of upside.
Evan Smith running in the number 11 spot. Evan is the XC2 250 third place position holder, I think, if I'm counting that back right. 347 from Jefferson, Georgia. Evan's an unfamiliar name to me. I don't recall Evan being one of those riders that has necessarily come up through the ranks of GNCC.
He's not come up necessarily through the ranks of GNCC, but he has raced GNCC, raced quite a bit last year. I don't think he did the full series, but he rode most of them. But he's really been kind of coming into his own in the Enduros and some other series, and expecting big things out of him this year. He actually was very close on test times at some recent events to Caleb Russell and beating Thad Duvall and beating Josh Strang and some of the tests. He's been in the top 5 overall in some of those other events. And, he's been riding very well. So not surprised to see him up and running well within the XC2 Pro Lights class. In fact, if anything, kind of surprised based on the way he's been riding that he's not even a little bit further up.
198 of Liam Draper running in the number 12 spot. He's got a new look this year, riding with the Teeley Energy KTM team. Mike Wachowski, the 282, got the whole shot in the class on his Beta out of North Liberty, Indiana. He's 13th overall. Tegan Temple out of Westchester, Pennsylvania, another XC2 250 Pro Class rider. That's 14th. Ben Parsons, the 315th out of Orlando, Florida. Then there's Jesse Ansley. You saw it look like he'd backed it down after the intensity that he was riding at there through the first couple of laps. Well, last check, he was still holding on, according to timing and scoring, to a lead position in the FMF XC3 class, as well as 16th place overall. Jonathan Johnson, another XC2 class rider, the 981, and 17th. Zach Hayes out of Sumter, South Carolina, is 18th. Alex Teagarden out of Waynesburg, PA, the 309, and 19th. And Austin Lee, There's your other Phoenix Racing Honda ride out of Bedford, Indiana. He's the XC2 effort as far as Phoenix Honda Racing is concerned, Racing Honda. Lee rounds out the top 20. Now, Johnny, where is the first non-pro or pro-am class rider, and what position do you think it's coming out of? As we scroll down through, we've got a 250A class rider, our top, what I would call our top amateur right now, out of Sorrento, Florida. Bryce Coster, the number 712, currently running in the 22nd place overall, as we said, leading that 250A class.
Yeah, he's the top amateur right now from that 250A class. And one rider we don't see in the top 20, near the top 20, or even near the top 30, that was making a lot of predictions prior to this race about finishing top 20, no problem, in the Florida Sands, was Christopher Bach, retired XC1 rider out there running that Vet A class. And he assured us that he was going to be running top 20, no problem. He was giving the business to some of the guys over at Ranch Russell the other day, turning faster lap times, told us all about it. Speaking of fast lap times, Stu Baylor puts in another heater, crosses the line, gets the 2-lap card now, 1 hour and 46 minutes. And there is, hot on his heels, is Caleb Russell. Where is Thad Duvall?
A minute and 10 seconds faster that time around was Stu Baylor. That was a 27:54 that he just turned. He had a 28:09 on the last lap around that time. Wow, he's really picking it up. Caleb Russell, a 28:03. Thad Duvall, we're still waiting on him. He had a 28:21 this time. He checks in now 20.2 seconds back, and that's still with blistering fast laps and still going almost 50 seconds faster than what he went a lap ago, and he's still losing time to these guys. I mean, what kind of intensity are these guys riding at right now? We haven't even hit the 2-hour mark yet, Johnny, and normally we expect these guys to kind of like maybe save themselves until that last hour, at least a little bit. And if they are saving themselves, how much more do they have to give out there?
Well, I think, if I'm not mistaken, last lap was a 28:09.
No, it was a 29.
Oh, it was a 29:09.
29:09. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, wow. Then that's definitely phenomenal. If they did a 27.
Ben Kelly had the fastest lap.
That's right. 29. You're right. Yeah. So wow, that was definitely to pick it up that much faster and go a minute and 13 seconds faster in a half hour. I mean, that's basically going from a good push pace to a straight out sprint. And Thad Duvall, obviously with him turning in, I believe that lap for him was a 28:21. That's a phenomenal lap, but he lost. He gave up almost 30 seconds to those guys.
And he's got to be thinking, I'm riding as hard as I can right now. What's going on?
Yeah, crazy. These guys are pushing, and Stu Baylor, this is what he did a few years ago at Big Buck when he won that race. He pushed, and even talking with Caleb and Thad and those guys, they thought, oh, well, it's Stu. He's got good pace, but he won't be able to hold that to the finish. And he showed him wrong, or proved him wrong, and showed him that he could. So I think Caleb Russell was ready, ready for him this time. And when Stu pulled the trigger and Caleb saw him go to the front, he said, "Oh no, not gonna make it easy on you this time." And he's kind of latched on. But those guys are really pushing, and we see these guys always checking their heart rate monitors as soon as this is over. And I can guarantee you, lap 4 for those guys is going to be absolutely pegged.
Well,
oh, look at this on screen. Josh Toth is 5th place in our XC1 Pro class, and hot on his heels is Ben Kelly. So Ben Kelly's made up some more time. We're gonna have to see where that puts him in the overall.
All right, a minute and 57 seconds between 3rd and 4th place position. There's Stu Baylor out in that field section out by the starting line. Man, he is letting her rip right now.
Yeah, and is he shaking Caleb Russell? I think that might have been Caleb that just went by. It was. Caleb was in between, or is that Caleb there? No, that is Thad Duvall there. Caleb Russell was in the shade of that tree, I do believe. There was a rider there, and he looked like he was moving pretty quickly, so I think that was Caleb Russell still in 2nd, and about another, 20 seconds when they checked in. But I tell you what, the rider that was behind Stu Baylor, if that was Caleb Russell, which we believe it was more than 4 seconds behind him. It was more like 8 or 10 seconds behind. So Stu Baylor starting to pull the ripcord on this parachute right now.
Wow, and like we said, haven't even hit the 2-hour mark. And here's an interesting point to ponder. Yesterday, our ATV race ended up, it was going to be right at the wire, and it was hard to determine whether it was going to be an hour and 45 minutes if they went 4 laps, or more than an hour and 45 minutes if they went 4 laps, or if it was going to be less. They went with the 2-lap board, and at the white flag, Walker Fowler turned in at 1:45.13, and all right, we'll see if that same scenario unfolds, whether we'll have a long race today or not. But there's Stu Baylor making his way into the pro pit section now as he motors his way down. Well, that's the auxiliary pro pit section. As we go into the main pro section, let's see, it looks like they are ready to pit him. So here comes Stu Baylor. And there you see the gas going in, goggles, fresh water. And bam, in and out. Stu Baylor. Oh, no. Stu Baylor just stalled it coming out of the pits. He stalled it. And what will that mean? Hopefully, for him anyway.
Hey, Rodney, they got fuel all over the bike and Stu Baylor as well, and they're still trying to push. So, boy, this is not good.
No, it is not good. I think Caleb Russell just got by or about to get by. What a heartbreaker! Can you confirm whether and who got by down there, Mikey? Because I was trying to watch, but I couldn't quite see for sure. It looked like Caleb may have went in, did his full pit stop, and actually got around. I don't know that Thad was able to, but definitely I think Caleb Russell may have regained the lead. And here we go with that wind in the sails type scenario situation. Does that knock the wind out of Stu's sails, or does that fire him back up if he gets that machine rolling again? And then, like you said, Mikey, did you not say they spilled gas everywhere when they were putting fuel in that machine?
Yeah, correct. The quick fill stayed open, and it was just pouring out all over the bike and Stu himself. So that's another added element he's got to deal with now.
Yeah, and then one thing that we got to point out about that, I don't know if you're familiar with this, and I think Stu has had this same thing happen, and I'm almost thinking that it happened here in Florida, where he got chafed so bad. He tried to ride like that, but he literally had to rip his pants off and jump in a hole of water to try and cool himself off out there, or somebody did. I'm thinking it was Stu, and I certainly hope that's not the same case scenario, because Stu certainly looking at a lead. He'd be better off at this particular point riding the pace he's riding, to go change pants, get back on the bike, and deal with whatever deficit he has lost, because at this particular rate, if that starts to burn, there may be a good chance that Stu Baylor may not be able to finish this race. It depends on how much fuel actually got spilled on Stu. That is a big factor right there. And maybe you can find out a little bit more about that, Mikey, and report on that here in just a few moments. We got Russ. Go ahead.
Yeah, Rodney, real quick, I did just talk to Teely Energy Pits. They did say it looked to them like Stu did get out in front of Caleb. So Stu, Caleb, and then Thad. So I don't think, obviously lost a lot of time there, but I think he's still out in front, at least according to Teely Energy Pits.
All right, so let me ask you this question. Do you know, did Stu get a good soaking, or was it just a splash of gas that he got on his lap, or was it a whole lot?
I'm going to go with a good soaking. That thing, I mean, it was pouring out. Definitely not just a splash, a lot more than that, pretty significant amount.
There's Stu and Caleb already nose to tail out here, as we said. That is Stu Baylor out front, Caleb Russell right on his rear wheel, as we said. And look at that, Stu just let him go by. Oh, that was a lapper. Okay, I was told that was Stu. I'm sorry, that wasn't Stu. Okay, all right, way out in front of Pepsi be great. And so that was a lapper that he was trying to get around. So I guess that Stu did get around. DQ, back in the booth with us. I heard you, well, obviously you were in the early part of the race with Mikey Waynes there. You had some good speculations. You had some good insight. You also know a lot about this GNCC. You've been out. What's been going on? What have you found out?
It's really mixing up. It's back and forth. I haven't seen a race like this in a while. Like, it's really cool to watch. I mean, every section you go, every camera shot, someone different's leading. Someone different's here. It's really cool to see.
So maybe what I said yesterday, that this could be maybe one of the most challenging GNCC championships in the recent history, could that hold true?
Oh, I completely agree. This morning I was, who's going to win? Who's going to win? I just pulled Ben Kelly out because I was like, he's tall. He's the first guy I thought of that's tall. Well, I have a theory about tall people in the sand.
Well, and you know, it pays huge dividends as well as we roll through our fourth lap here. And there is Caleb and Thad on screen as we watch Caleb try to stretch things out over the 9.89 there.
Yeah, they're close. They weren't that close coming through the pits.
Where's Stu at now? Is he still out in front of these guys? I guess that's the question that needs to be answered. And you know as well as anybody, DQ, you've probably been in that situation. You get gas on your pants in your lap like that. It's not a good sign. It's not a good
No,
thing.
it's it makes for a long day. You're splashing through every water hole and everything, trying to cool yourself off, basically.
And sometimes it gets to a point where you can't hardly even do it. Josh Strang making his run through the trees right now, as you see him on the 114. Babbitt's Online Monster Energy Kawasaki as he makes his way into some of those big wetter sections, the mud bog area there. Then we take a look at that on the
I was
Yamaha
over there
Live
this
Drone.
morning. I saw some bikes go completely underwater in a couple of those water holes over there.
So it is the
It is. There's good lines, and you go 2 feet right or left, and you are underwater. I couldn't even believe it.
Yeah, I know that Jared Bolton said, the water's only about 1.5 inches deep.
If you go in the right spot.
Just don't go to the right or left. You know, here last year it was, memory serves me correct, a little bit drier, but it was still a warmer day if I'm not mistaken.
I made the mistake of racing.
Oh, wow. So how did you end up doing it?
I started in the XC3 class, and by the end of it, I think I was back with some of the B guys. It was a rough day.
It sounds like it. And did you race Georgia?
I did. I had a blast at Georgia. I loved it.
Awesome. Well, last year, Caleb Russell took the win with Stu Baylor in second, and it was Thad Duvall in the number 3 spot. And remember, both Thad and Stu came in last year, both hot. On the heels of Caleb Russell, both thinking that they were going to be the one that was going to be able to stop the championship run and stamp championship bids for Caleb Russell. Here we are a year later. Ben Kelly is here. Josh Toth is in these. And here we are a year later. Now, this is a little different. Not necessarily. We had Kevin Benoit get the whole shot. Josh Strang was up front. But there was Stu Baylor working his way to the front of the pack. We had another rider out of the ordinary take a whole shot.
I was going to say, Heath Harrison today on the whole shot.
Yeah,
and
so that could... Wow.
That's Florida every year. It's always some guy just shows up, and like it's been Medaglia from Canada a few times.
Yeah, there's Josh Strang. He got up on his then Husqvarna up into a second-place position. We've seen Caleb Russell back into that fourth-place position. He had his struggles, as you can see.
They changed out a shifter.
Yeah, they had to replace a shifter, and that was pretty slick the way
they
made
did that in a hurry.
But then, of course, Stu Baylor, I believe, falling back to that second-place position again, and Thad Duvall back to the number 3 spot as these guys continue to wage war. Caleb Russell had regained the lead and was back out front of those guys, so pretty interesting stuff as Russell went through nearly the same type water holes. That's actually the 1,000-acre woods before the finish line.
Right before the finish, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, and
I haven't been over there this year. I know they're going backwards through it.
Yeah, and I don't think it's nearly that bad, to be honest with you. But at the Checkers, a year ago, the Wildboard GNCC was Caleb Russell, and he's trying to put himself in that same position, battling the exact same guys that he battled last year. Looking at the overall results, Ben Kelly got 4th here last year. He's currently running 4th. The only difference I see is Josh Toth is 6th place, and Trevor Bollinger
and he
is
went
5th.
down on the start, so I mean he's really came forward. Like I saw him go down on the start. I'm like, oh man, that's a rough way to start your first XC1 race.
Yeah, exactly.
Didn't let him phase him, and he's right up there. That's awesome.
I think it fired him up, if truth be told.
That's true, yeah.
And continue to watch the screen, if you will. I want to try to catch a couple. We have not got an amateur class in yet, and I want to get some of these in. So we're going to start. We're just going to start talking about the Open A class here. Of course, Open A, after 3 laps of racing, nearly 2 hours into this event. We've got Scott Gawler, the 377 out of Clermont, Florida, taking the lead in that one by about 24 seconds over Brandon Phillips out of Vero Beach, Florida. No surprise.
Sand guys.
Yeah, exactly. 373 in second. Levi Keller out of Bainbridge, Ohio, 1 minute and 17 seconds back. He's in 3rd. Joshua Lee out of Statesboro, Georgia, in 4th. And Cope Beckert out of Zanesville, Ohio, running in the number 5 spot. Interesting, couple Ohio boys doing
Yeah,
okay.
I was going to say, I saw Levi actually at a local Indiana race last week, and I believe he got 2nd.
Wow.
And he was riding good there, and I know Cope's been down here all winter training with Thad and Ben Parsons and all those other guys down there at the Parsons house. So
Sweet. So those guys have got probably a good season ahead of them.
I definitely would say so.
258 class, we got Bryce Coster out of Sorrento, Florida, leading this one. 1 minute and 2 seconds back. Brody Johnson, the 235 from Landrum, South Carolina. Out of Canada, Mike Leonard, the number 906. He's 3rd. Livonia, Michigan. Is Joey McNeil, and he's riding the 299 in 4th. Ryder LeBlanc, the 42, out of New Florence, Pennsylvania, rounds out the top 5. I look down through the list of names here. The only name from from Florida that I see is Bryce Coster through the top 20 in this class, and he's the one leading.
Yeah, no kidding.
By over a minute.
Yeah.
So again, Sand Riders seem to be prevailing. So we go to the 200A class. Logan Kiddick.
This doesn't make any sense.
Farmington, Michigan. When you think of Millville. All right, Stu Baylor is out. Oh.
Wow, Caleb just kicked big there.
Yeah, he did. So that's still the battle for second place we just saw there. And man, that was crazy. I don't know. I don't think his suspension be going away, but whatever it was, it certainly bucked him hard.
Probably a palmetto out there in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. I already forgot what. Oh. Farmington, Minnesota. You said that's a surprise. Think about Millville, Minnesota.
It is a little sandy there. That is true.
I mean, they got some elevation. They got the elevation changes and stuff, but I don't know that it would be this.
Yeah, but there's also no one from Florida in that class.
Exactly. Max Fernandez out of Ottsville, Pennsylvania, the 490 is second place. He's running a minute 30 seconds back. Dylan Simple out of Iron Station, North Carolina, 9:29 in third. 1:99 Zachary Davidson of Iron Station, North Carolina as well. He actually took the whole shot in this class. His fourth, and Elliott Key, the 900 from Arcola, Illinois, rounds out the top 5. 4-stroke A lights class, Alexander Luger from Orlando, Florida. The 303 machine, a 3-minute and 36-second lead. And that's the only Florida rider in that. There's 20 riders in that class. The only one from Florida. Here's something out of the ordinary. Frederick Bluen, who got the whole shot in this 4-stroke A lights class, still holding on to second place out of Canada.
I was say, that's all I think of Canada is like dark black dirt and rocks.
I know. You wouldn't think that that they would be a customer acquainted with.
Yeah, but then there was Loic Leonard also from Canada and one of the other.
Maybe there's something going on up there.
Yeah, we just don't know about.
Yeah, maybe so. Nathan Rector, the number 385 out of Rogersville, Missouri, in third place. The 161 of Adam Hollenkamp out of Waynesboro, Virginia, is only 4 seconds off that pace. Adam Hollenkamp in fourth, and then Johnny Manera, the 357 from Millville, New Jersey, 1 second back in fifth place. Now, I could see the Millville, New Jersey rider.
Right, I would say the J-Day guys. It seems like those guys always do well down here.
So, looking at next, the junior AB class, Andrew Matusik out of Franklin, Georgia, 6 minutes and 45 seconds.
Matuzak's on a roll.
Wow, 7:29 Landon Smith in second out of Kingsport, Tennessee. Is it Kingsport or Kingsport? But whichever, it's
kind of like PetSmart and PetSmart.
Exactly. I'm glad that you didn't look at me like I was an idiot. Everybody, I normally say that. My ex-girlfriend just used to.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, Landon Smith, the 7:29 from Kingsport, Tennessee, in second. Third place, the 381 Damon Rummel out of Stafford Springs, Connecticut, a minute and 42 seconds back. There's some big gaps here. They're not seeing each other. Dustin Ulrich, 53 out of Trevorton, Pennsylvania, 2 minutes and 31 seconds back and forth. Joseph McCarty, the 426 out of Mount Clair, West Virginia, rounds out the top 5. When you got gaps like this, and I guess it turns into you're just a ride for survival.
I would say, if you can't see the guy in front of you, it's survival. When you're on somebody, it's a whole different mindset, a whole different mentality. It's crazy how much that changes your outlook.
Chris Bach leading the Bet A30 Plus class. He was making touts and claims that he was going to finish top 20. I think I checked in with him 34th overall, something like that.
Still pretty far up there.
Yeah, it's not bad, especially for somebody who hasn't been racing. And
he's beating the Florida guy.
He is beating the Florida guy. There we go.
But he's actually from Indiana.
Who's got some? And Chris Bach, again, leading 5 minutes, 57 seconds over Sean Clark, 376. Martin Howell, the 511 out of Tumble, Texas, is third. Ben Williams, the 387 out of Hooper, Utah, in fourth. And fifth place, Sam Forster, the 048 out of Elkton, Maryland. Again, 2 minutes, 1 minute, 5, almost 6 minutes there between first and second. A lot of guys.
That's a large gap.
It is. And again, it just becomes a day of survival at this particular point, I think, for these riders. They just want to keep them moving. All right, here we go. We are in the senior A40+ class. Barry McCarty, I think, was one of the older guys in this class. Got the whole shot as well, the 366 from Port Orange, Florida, who's been an avid motocross. I mean, he's been a nationally known star for a long time. I see him in a lot of different amateur events and stuff like that. But Barry's a good rider, too, and we're seeing that right now. Frank Messina, the number 50 out of Campbell Hall, New York. Joe Kessler, the 425 from Canton, Massachusetts, is third. Leopoldo Gomez out of Kings Biscayne, Florida, rounds out, no, that's fourth place. Larry Sylvia out of Monticello, Georgia, rounds out the top 5 on the 720. Again, big gaps. The closest, we do have a battle going on for third, though. Leopoldo and Joe Kessler battling for third place position right now as we speak.
That's a senior 840-plus class. Here is your Open B class. Peyton Hardin out of Stamping, Kentucky, 10 seconds ahead of Paul Crutchlow. And what we've been seeing, that's a tight race right now going on. Matt Sorge, the 82 out of Atco, New Jersey, is running in third, 1 minute and 52 seconds back. Then we got Thomas Thompson, the 200 out of Keystone, Florida, in fourth, and Curtis Compton out of Troutman, North Carolina, rounding out the top 5. 250B, Benjamin Bluen out of Canada, 586. He's leading this one.
There you go. I was beating the Florida guy again.
Yeah, Trevor Riley, the 370 from New Smyrna, Florida, running in second. Garrick Orbister out of Stockbridge, Georgia, is running third aboard the 189. Fourth place, Gatlin Combs from Caledonia, Michigan, the 363. Fifth place, the 249, Philip Dagnius out of St. Columbian, Quebec, Canada. That's your top 5 in that. And that one's a little tighter. I mean, there's a couple minutes between first and second, but only a minute or so in between the rest. And by comparison,
but a minute's a long time.
That is, but when you're looking at 6 and 7 minutes and 5 minutes, that seems a little tighter. And at this point in the race, a little get off could tighten that back up.
And that's true. Yeah, I saw in the morning race guys that were gaining and losing minutes per lap just off of small mistakes or taking the wrong line through the water.
Exactly. 200B class, Max Rust out of Iron Station has a here we go. Here's a race. 200B class, 1.1 seconds separating first and second. Tanner Collins, the 404, and the 219 of Max Rust. Collins out of Crooksville, Ohio. They have a 1 minute and 41 second lead over Trent Gaither. Ezra Judd, the 466 and fourth out of Cookeville, Tennessee. And West Mifflin, Pennsylvania's Gino Bonacci rounds out the top 5. Now, Max Rust and Tanner Collins, this right here might be setting the stage for what we're going to see for the 200B class this year.
Those two names, they stick out from the youth ranks, and I could definitely see them being tight all year, and that's what you want to see. The B classes and the lower A classes with the battles. I mean, that's the future of the sport.
That is the future of the sport, and we're going to see. Can't wait. That 200B class just caught my radar. Tyler Palmer, the 4-stroke B lights class leader, 449 from Denver, North Carolina, 5 minutes 21 seconds over the 408 of Hunter Cleveland out of Aaron, New York. 352 Zachariah Tinky from Somerset, PA, in third. Fourth place, Alexander Patterson. There's Paul Whibley in the pits right now, and we'll see what's going on with him. I know he's dropped back, still right close to that top 10 or just inside the top 10. Riding for an injured Ricky Russell, who I hope is watching back home on RacerTV.com. Ricky, we look forward to seeing you back soon. But I understand Corey Buttrick is going to be doing the fill-in
That's what I heard after this round. Buttrick will be on the bike until Ricky's back.
Right, and Corey didn't show up today. I don't know for what reason. Maybe preparing himself for the ride and didn't want to conflict on things. But we'll see, I believe, in Georgia, if I'm not mistaken. Corey B. riding for Ampro Yamaha, and that might be a good mare.
I was going to say that makes a lot of sense to me, and I think that could be a very good combo.
I think it can, because you got the experience and maturity and the speed, I think, of Corey. He's just not been able to put it all together.
Right.
And for different reasons, but you got, I think, the intelligence and the wisdom of Randy Hawkins. They might be able to.
Right, that's what I was thinking. I mean, he's a fast rider. He hasn't had a solid program for a while.
All right, and so real quick, let's run through the rest of these classes. We did the 4-stroke B lights class there. We got Bet B. I think this is our last class we have to look at. Casey Moore, the 450 out of Crystal River, Florida, leading that. 279, William O'Brien out of Whispering Pines, North Carolina, 8 minutes back in second. David Espinoza out of Sunny Isles, Florida, 3 minutes and 9 seconds. He might not be an avid rider, probably just on occasion. Gary Bissing, the 401 from Lexington, Kentucky, and Joselie Ramos out of Marietta, Georgia, the 987, rounding out the top 5. I'm making excuses for him, and I don't have a clue. I mean, it could be a number of things. And this is the last one, Senior B. They changed up the order on me. Douglas Watson, the 505 out of Sanford, Florida, leading Igor Suarez, who got the whole shot, the 379 from Marlboro, Massachusetts. 771, Adam Miller out of Indianapolis, Indiana, is third. Fourth place, Wes Morris out of Fraser's Bottom, West Virginia, and fourth. And Scott Matheny, the 934 from Hurricane, West Virginia, rounds out the top 5. And that is your look at all your amateur classes. That's after mainly 3 laps, but we're working on 4 right now. Working on 5. We have 4 complete for Stu Baylor, Caleb Russell, Thad Duvall, Benjamin Kelly, and Josh Toth, your top 5 in the overall right now. Trevor Bollinger in 5th, and 6th is Josh Toth. Josh Strang in 7th. Jonathan Gerard, I got it wrong again. I got
That's a hard one.
It is. Gerard. They got. I'll eventually get it into my head, but Jonathan is still holding steady back there in that 8th place position, and I really hate. And he's actually, what is he, second? I think in the XC2.
Second XC2, yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad to see him back, and we'd seen him riding in the XC1 class a lot.
Yeah.
I think the step back to the XC2 is probably going to be a great fit for him, and what it's going to do is give him a chance to really build that confidence.
Mature.
Yeah. And then make that step back up in the XC1. I think that's a good move. Way to go, and glad to see that. Let's see. Right now as we look out and about, and a lot of folks might be saying, hey, I was watching the race yesterday, and you kept talking about Aaron Plessinger. Aaron Plessinger, he's going to be here, Grand Marshal of GNCC, this, that, and the other. And well, yeah, that was kind of the idea, and unfortunately, one of GNCC's own not going to be able to make it. Aaron Plessinger having a bad get-off last night at the Supercross. I think they tell me that he broke a heel.
Yeah, that's what I heard. That's a tough one.
That is a tough one, but as we well know, Aaron Plessinger, and many of us here in the off-road world know, this is where it all began.
Right,
for him.
yeah, I remember him on minis. I mean, he started on Yamahas. I believe his original Yamaha contract was to run GNCCs, and you can go to some motocrosses if you want.
And it all seemed to pay off for him. This is what we have to say about the Yamaha rider this week, Aaron Plessinger.
Yamaha's Aaron Plessinger grew up in the shadows of the off-road trails of the Grand National Cross Country Championship. A skilled youth rider and son of racing legend Scott Plessinger, a two-time champion of the toughest racing series in America, it was expected to see the young Aaron follow in the footsteps of his father to be one of the off-road greats. However, after earning championships as a youth racer in the 65cc, 85cc, and Super Mini classes, he found himself longing for the motocross track, where he had enjoyed many successes as well. As an amateur in MX, Plessinger first caught the eye of the motocross world when he dominated the 250 and 450B classes at the AMA Amateur National Motocross Championship Finals at Loretta Lynn's. That following year, in 2014, he captured 4 250cc Supercross class wins as well as an Arena Cross win. These accomplishments helped to set the stage to him earning the 2015 Supercross Rookie of the Year. Aaron won the 2018 250 AMA Pro Motocross Championship and is currently ranked 9th in points in the 2019 450cc Supercross point standings. Another great thing to add to Aaron's story is the fact that as he was making his transition into motocross and supercross stardom, he found time to visit his roots and take top amateur honors several times in 2011 and 2012. In 2013, Aaron battled relentlessly with Jason Thomas for the XC2 Pro Lights Class win at North Carolina's famed Steel Creek GNCC. In 2019, Aaron makes his return to GNCC as Grand Marshal to kick off the 2019 season and the Wild Boar GNCC. And that's this week in Yamaha history.
Aaron Plessinger was supposed to be today, but unfortunately, like we said, not going to make it. But we'll still have him called our honorary GNCC Grand Marshal. How about that?
Sounds good to me.
All right. So, all right, Mikey Waynes, what you got going on?
Hey, thanks, Rodney. I'm actually down here. I was able to catch up with JoJo Cunningham, who took the youth overall this morning, man, and it was one of my highlights of last season was watching you guys race. You came out and absolutely made a statement today.
Yeah, it was. It was a brutal track. I think I was getting sick about the second lap, and just kept on pushing the whole race. Though I knew what I had to do, and we just brought her in.
You did, man, and it was a great job out there winning the overall. You've got enough competition on row number 1, but then you got the YXC2 guys, and on adjusted time, Grant Davis seems like the guy who's going to give you a lot of trouble this year.
Yeah, me and Grant, we've battled like this for like the past 3 or 4 years. He definitely doesn't make it easy, but I lookff to racing with him every race.
Well, JoJo, you're off to a good start. JoJo Cunningham, you're a winner today in the youth overall.
That's that youth class again, stacked front to back, side to side, every class I think, 65 right on up to the 105s or whatever I think it's the 105s there in the Super Mini class they run on the XC1, YXC1.
Wow, the talent pool is just so deep.
I would say it's every year. It's like, oh, there's 10 kids every time.
Yeah.
It's just like every year there's new ones. It's incredible.
And the amazing thing is, you know, you do have an occasional standout here and there, obviously, but we're getting a little away from that. And a lot of guys, it's becoming groups of individuals that are starting to stand out. And we're seeing, and like we saw in the 200B class there, you know, those kids are moving up into those ranks, and the competition is still there. I gotta hope and I gotta think that as they continue to work through the ranks into the A class and into the XC classes, that they continue to be able to bring that with them, because that right there is what the racing is all about. And to keep it that tight, it's tough, especially over a 3-hour course of time. And you know, 10 seconds over 3 hours is tight. But the thing that amazes me is how often we come down to the wire when it's less than 3 seconds between first and second place.
Oh, yeah. It's incredible. It just shows the level that these guys are at, that you really can't take it much further, I guess, in a way, for the top guys, because they stay so tight. It's like that's as fast as you're going to go around this track.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, sometimes they say that, and then they end up finding a way to go faster. I don't know.
That's true. I know, every year.
But here, and I'll tell you, it's the science of it. And you can probably agree with me on this, DQ. Wow. And I was just going to say physical conditioning. And this right here is going to transition right into what we just saw and what we're looking at right here with Stu Baylor. Seen him, he looks fit, he looks more trim than he's seen, and he obviously, he doesn't seem to be waning any whatsoever. So the science of physical conditioning is what really is separating these guys at this upper level, I think.
I would agree with that. They're putting in the time, and the programs are solid anymore. I mean, it's not like it was 10 years ago or so, where you had one guy that would train and do everything, and everybody else was, I mean, they weren't a weekend warrior per se, but the level of people these days is incredible.
It most certainly is. And I mean, and not only the level that they are, the level that other people are being able to come up and close to match or matching it. Because I mean, it's kind of like I said, it's a science. Everybody, it's catching on. It's kind of like a fever.
Well, that's like Josh Toth and Ben Kelly. Like those two, when I met them, the trail jester guy Ross, he came up to me and he's like, "Hey, what class do you think we should go into GNCC?" And I'm like, "Man, Ross, I think you should do a season of 250A." I'm like, it's unproven. I don't know. And he's like, "All right, XC2 it is." And he proved me wrong 100%.
That's great. Well, you know, I mean, obviously he knew the power of what he had coming out of the Northeast over there.
Yeah.
And I don't know, is everybody fast like that over there?
It sure seems like it.
Or is it just those guys that just happen to be?
I mean, you got Johnny Gerard now too, also right up there, Trail Jesters.
Yeah. And there's Stu Baylor back out there on the track again, all by himself. Look at the gap, and not only the gap, but look at Stu. He's looking back there to see where they are at this point. He's like, where'd they go? Where did they go? And you know, a good speculation might be that he may think those guys might be closer than what they are, and he keeps looking back and seeing somebody that he might think is them, and it may not be them. So he's really riding with an amazing sense of urgency right now and thinking that he can't shake them, but how big is the gap?
I'm already well above 30 seconds just counting in my head. That's a statement if I've ever seen one.
Wow. Now the question is, can that statement have an explanation point on it with a checkered flag at the end of this race?
That would be quite impressive. Definitely was not on my radar.
And here's what I'm going to tell you. When he won Big Buck, I'll tell you right now, I said it and I thought it, I believed it in my heart of hearts. If he makes it through the 2.5 hour mark, he's never going to make it all the way to 3. I'm not gonna put that on him today. I'm just going to wait and see what happens. And look at that.
Oh, my God. That's almost a minute.
Yeah, well, probably past a minute now, honestly, as we watch the battle for second place. And we've seen this battle so many times last year for first place between Caleb Russell and Thad Duvall.
I would say these are the guys that everyone thinks of being up front, which they're up front, but Stu's 3 cars ahead of us, Jimmy.
It's amazing. I mean, this kid, now, the question is, will he be able to back it up in Georgia in 7 days, man? I mean, coming out and putting in these great races, that's one thing. But we saw him do it when he done South Carolina a couple years ago. We saw him come back. He was back in it again, and so I think he can. I think that what we've been witnessing over the last few years is the blossoming
of building process.
A building process to see the blossoming of Stu Baylor, and we might be starting to see.
We might see the actual Stu Baylor now.
Exactly. And we talked about this. We talked about this for years, man. We talked about what we expected out of Stu and how much was expected out of Stu as he climbed through the ranks, and when he made the XC1 class finally after that horrid and just amazing battles that he had with Jason Thomas and the injuries and stuff that he sustained and suffered, and that was the big thing.
I would say the injury was, to me, it kind of just removed him from my mind as like being a top contender for a while. And that injury to his hand, I believe, is one of those that people say, oh, they'll never
ride again. Most people never come back from an injury like that. But Stu Baylor's not only come back from an injury like that, he has exceeded any expectations that you might have from being able to come back. And right now, he may be going even further. 1 minute and 21 seconds between Stu Baylor and the number 1 of Caleb Russell and Thad Duvall battling back for the number 2. 1 minute and 21 seconds right now.
If somebody had told me that this morning, I'd have laughed at him.
I'd have said never going to happen. Not this late in the race. We're 2 hours and 20 minutes into the race.
We are into the final hour.
We are into the waning moments, if you will, of this GNCC. And right now, looks like we may have lost the internet. So no live results that are refreshing at the moment. So we'll try to reconnect and get that back up and rolling here in just a moment. But, man, just moments away from, 40 minutes, we're going to call it. It might be a little sooner than that. But 30, 40 minutes, we're going to find out what's going to happen at that checker flag. That's a good question. Maybe we can find out. Can we get Adam, can you tell us, do they have the white flag out yet? Are we on the 2-lap board? I mean, do they have the chip? We are on the white flag.
Okay. Minute 41 on the white flag.
Wow. Now
that changes everything.
That changes everything. So basically, I'd say we are about probably 25, 30 minutes away from seeing, 25 to 28 minutes away from seeing these guys check in at the end of a 3-hour race. He said white flag.
Yeah,
so we
white
are
flag.
Wow, that's...
he's still on the run.
Yeah. And like the producer says, he thinks that Stu thinks those guys are closer, is why he continues to ride at a sense of urgency. Now, unless somebody lets him know they're 1 minute 21 seconds back, that could be detrimental to him. I mean, he could
they're probably giving him some strategic pit board, telling him they're right there. That's the games you always play with the riders is, hey, they're right on you. Go faster. If you tell them, hey, you've got a 1 minute and 41 second lead, they back it down.
Right. So, and that might be why Stu keeps looking over his shoulder, and that might be why he keeps pushing the envelope. But the one thing that we don't want him to do, and they might know more about this than what we do, the whole fitness level. Man, we know our bodies are not designed to go past that at this level hardly an hour and a half. An hour and 30 minutes is about where it maxes out at. Once you reach the into that hour and 30 minutes, into the 2 hours, and especially into that 3 hours, the body really starts to do some funny things.
You start, your mind is where it starts first. You kind of, things aren't where you think they are. It's very weird.
and that's what makes this sport so grueling, I think, to be honest.
Very much
with
so.
And that's where the science of it, I think, has come in. And I think that's where the science of training has elevated everything, to be honest.
Oh, yeah. I mean, these guys they're full-time athletes. It's definitely not a weekend sport anymore.
Not anymore. So, I got some results up, but it's from this morning. Taylor Jones is your leader, according to So, we're making progress. And we are making progress toward the finish line as well. We're waiting on Stu Baylor to make not only a win, but a win with a huge explanation point on it. And, and this is good for him because, remember, he won last year at Ironman. Caleb and Thad were not there.
Yeah.
What was it that Stu said? Remember, he said he made
the guys aren't here. This isn't a real win to me.
Exactly. This is going to be a real win. That was his exact words. Those guys aren't here. This isn't a real win to me. He said that during last year's podiums and presentations. And, of course, this today is going to be
a statement. That's all. I keep saying it, but that's a statement.
That is. And this is going to be this is huge. this is so huge what we're witnessing right now, and him being able to do that, especially after what he said. It almost as if he infuriated himself to them and put themselves above him.
Yeah.
But something in the winter, something over the off season, he elevated himself.
I would say something clicked, and he's on a roll.
Yeah, maybe that hunger, that Baylor hunger,
Yeah.
that hunger to win, that hunger for championships. Remember how fierce he used to fight.
Oh,
I want
yeah.
to see that Stu Baylor back.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I tell you what, as we watch these races run through, you know, we're watching these pro riders, and we've watched a lot of these guys make it all the way through the youth ranks. We watched Stu go through all these kids basically that are in the pro class now. About every one of them have gone through the youth ranks, into the amateur ranks, and eventually into the pro ranks. And I'll tell you, each and every week, you know, we always like to kind of highlight some of these
up-and-comers.
Up-and-comers, yeah, the amateur riders who aren't an XC1, an XC2, or an XC3 rider, and give them a little bit of props. And this week, we happen to be taking a look at and talking with a young man by the name of, I believe, Austin Sentinel, if I'm not mistaken, right?
From South Carolina, I believe.
Yeah, from right to South Carolina. So we caught up with him, and this is this week's amateur feature on his Spikes KTM.
My name's Austin Sentinel. Travel to South Carolina and run 4 straight C lights. It's changed a good bit. I went from just, you know, joyriding, having fun, to actually putting in some work down in the gym, riding a lot more, setting up with different people so I could ride more and get more experience and try to do better in racing. I don't live far from Emily Raines and them, so I ride with them sometimes, and that really helps because, like Preston, she's just enough faster than me. She can push me and I can push her, or I got some other buddies that, you know, we'll just push each other and it just goes a long way. It'll help with speed. I mean, just keep going. I mean, even if you don't go to the gym, if you don't work out, if you just keep going, eventually, you know, you're going to do better than you think you are. So it'll pay off in the long run. Just keep going. You know, you might get arm pump, but sometimes it'll go away. Sometimes it won't. So just keep going. It's the 3rd time down here. Not a real big fan of the sand. It's a lot more rooty. Walked a little bit after the start, and it's really, really rooty compared to last year.
Out for riding for fun, and I think he's still doing it for fun.
Yeah, I watched him go by in the morning. He looked really good. Looked like he was having a good time out there. So
that's
definitely
awesome.
cool.
Yeah, a lot of good talent, and that's just tip of the iceberg what we got going on here in the GNCC Racing Nation. Some 700 participants today alone. This is school time of the year. This is a work time of the year. It's not spring break time or anything. We got 700 participants today alone. We had some 500 or 600 yesterday, so another healthy weekend of turnouts for GNCC Racing is being concerned. And a lot of folks probably not even wondering, or were probably wondering whether or not the weather was going to hold out. And what happened in South Carolina a couple weeks ago, I'm not making that trip down there. Who knows what's going to happen? But, man, if you didn't make the trip down here,
you missed out.
Have you missed
I'd say
out?
this is the best conditions it's been here. The weather's perfect. It's not too dry. It's not too wet.
Weather conditions, maybe. Track conditions, I mean, they're moist, but, man, this track is gnarly.
Yeah. Oh, this place is always gnarly, though.
But I guess if you like it gnarly, then the track conditions are perfect, right?
It's true. It's true.
So all depends on what your forte is. But here we are. How much? We got 227. Flashy might have to keep me updated on when the next when they're due in, because I don't have any access to timing and scoring right now. So.
There he is.
All right, there's Stu Baylor making his way out of the wooded section now and working his way toward the Monster Mile, I believe. So does he still seem to be going fast, but he looks like he might have leveled out.
He kind of looked a little more cruise mode there.
Yeah, a little more leveled out. Somebody might have finally said, dude, you got like a 1:45 lead. You can slow down a little bit. Take it easy. And I mean, other than a mistake, how much would somebody have to slow down for somebody else to make up a 1:45?
Oh, it'd be incredible.
A lot. You would physically see it. He would be seat riding.
I know with the ATV, just the fuel mileage came into play. I haven't heard today. I don't know the laps today. But I wonder if that's anything that's going on.
I don't know. Could be. Yeah. What do you think, Johnny? You think any?
I don't think the fuel. I mean, definitely the fuel mileage certainly came into play when they were calculating pit stops, but I can't imagine any of these guys would miscalculate fuel to the point where they'd have to back off that much towards the end.
But at
or
the
run
same
out
time,
altogether.
could Stu have been using that much fuel, more fuel, maybe pushing the bike that much harder in this sand and stuff? Could he have maybe used a little more fuel where something that normally isn't expected happens like that?
Sure. I mean, obviously, if you're hard on the throttle and you're riding that much harder than normal, you're going to use more fuel. I mean, the gasoline that you burn in your tank is what makes the bike go faster. So the faster you go, the more it burns. But I would assume that they've calculated out Stu's fuel mileage to the point where they know how far you can go on that tank. And generally, when you calculate fuel mileage, you do it either up. And here we have Caleb Russell taking a look back over his shoulder.
Still a big lead then.
Yep, he is shaking now Thad Duvall. That is not Thad Duvall behind him. So I got to tell you, when I watched those guys come through the backside of VP Fuels Pro Row, I ran over there, and you could see in Caleb and Thad's body language that they were, they're finishing this race at this point. They are not charging. They're charging for what they have left to give, but they are both kind of conserving what energy they have left. I don't know if it's something to where either one of them or both of them went down, maybe missed on their suspension settings, or maybe Stu Baylor just caught them off guard. I don't have the answer.
Okay.
But they both were in conservation mode, finished this race max points. Stu Baylor was looking around like, what's going on? Is this thing over? And he was still charging.
Right. Now this question comes to my mind. Both those guys had injuries at the end of last year. Both those guys had surgery. Both those guys had the rehab coming back into it. I could imagine that could play a little bit of a role in that, especially for Thad, because he got a little later start.
I know both of them had. I know Caleb had the shoulder injury and Thad with the wrist. Talking to them over the winter, they were off the bike a lot longer than they had ever been off the bike before.
Yeah, I think it was sometime in 2-3 weeks into January before Thad ever got onto his bike, or maybe it was Caleb telling me that before he ever actually got onto his bike. But interesting. That may be what's
That's
playing.
true. That's another variable we hadn't thought of.
But like Johnny says, it may just be that Stu's just caught these guys off guard because he's worked so hard.
Well, but I think part of that is what you're talking about. I think part of being caught off guard is you can simulate race conditions and you can train and you can do all that. But I can assure you, I don't have to ask Caleb or Thad. I know the answer. Neither of them have ridden a dirt bike for 3 hours consecutively since their injury. 2.5 hours anyway. Probably the longest that these guys ever ride at any one time is about an hour. So, you can feel great for an hour, but mentally and physically it is an entirely different set of circumstances when you have to do it under race conditions and you have to triple that 1 hour. So now suddenly you're looking at 3 hours, or looking at like it's going to be around about a 2 hour and 40 some odd minute race. So it's definitely one of those things where, you can simulate it, you can speculate, you can do all that, but when it comes right down to it, these guys don't know where they stand until they race. And obviously, all three of these guys most likely ending up on the podium. A great day for all of them. We got Hollywood's got his hand up. There looks like Stu Baylor coming. Wait a minute, Stu should have already been by.
Yeah.
We missed Stu Baylor. That is Caleb Russell in the second place spot. I recognize that because JoJo Bowden, one of our XC2 riders there, did come by on screen. He's going a lap down, and he was already lapped by Stu earlier. So there is Caleb Russell. We'll see what the gap is back. He was 32 minutes, 20 seconds as he disappeared into the woods there. Here comes Thad Duvall. So we're at 7 seconds, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So that gap is definitely opening up. Looks like it's about 17 or 18 seconds back to Thad from Caleb. So those two were wheel to wheel when we saw him at VP Fuels Pro Row, and now Caleb able to stretch it out a little bit over him, but still not making any dent into the minute and 20 plus gap that Stu Baylor has built up.
Still incredible to see him right away that way.
Yeah, absolutely. I when I saw Stu charging early, I expected him to be in the battle. I expected him to be in the fight. I expected him to push the pace early. Not saying that I expected him to fall off, but usually what happens is Caleb and Thad pick it up in that final hour.
Step it up.
Yep,
the
step it up.
It's not.
Today it's been the opposite. It's been Stu Baylor that started pushing the pace about an hour and a half in, and he's really, for the last hour, he's been the driving force. He's been the catalyst for the pace going faster. Like Rodney pointed out earlier, dropped from a 29.09 to a 27.54 from lap 3 to lap 4.
And on lap 5, he turned to 28.39, slowed down a little bit. But listen to this. Caleb Russell on lap number 5 turned to 29.45, so he was a minute and 6 seconds faster on that lap. And also Thad Duvall at 29.26. Wow, a minute faster, a minute and 6 plus seconds faster than both those guys. That's saying a whole. Yeah, he wicked it up quite a bit to be able to pull that out. That's That's impressive stuff. So in one lap of racing, and the funny thing is, the lap time actually slowed down.
Yeah, it over the top of it slowed down, but he was still faster. Like it.
Yeah.
It's weird how that works. Like everybody will drop about the same amount of time, but then the one guy will still step it up, but it's not where it was
He's
before.
still slowing down, yeah. But
Well, and another thing to take into consideration is just how bad this track is getting. It just continues to get rougher and rougher. I mean, they're losing seconds at every single corner as these holes get deeper, as more roots get exposed, as the ruts get deeper. You know, they're having to work further outside of the main line to find smoother lines, or just bulldog that main line. And either way, it's costing them time. So, you know, the lap time of Stu Baylor putting in 27:54, that was a sprint on a rough track. You know, if you would go out and sprint absolutely at the same effort level, even if he was fresh right now, you could probably easily add 45 seconds to a minute to that lap time, would be all that would be possible because of how rough the course has gotten. There is Stu Baylor in the FMF PowerPoint. He is on screen, still looking fresh, still looking good.
I'd say he's still like charging.
Yeah, he doesn't look a bit tired or anything. I mean, last year I think at this point he would have still maybe been going hard and been going fast, but you would have noticed in the body English, the body language, the way he'd be
he'd be the hunched over, tired guy look.
He's not got the tired guy look right now.
No, he looks good, looks fresh, looks like he's still pushing, still hitting his lines, and still hard on the throttle. You know, really the only thing that stands between Stu Baylor, other than about, let's see, that's about the, that's give or take about the 9-mile marker, I think, where they're at there. So he's got about 4 miles of race course left. And aside from that, as long as he's got enough, as DQ and you pointed out there, Rodney, as long as he's got enough fuel in the tank, literally fuel in his tank, you know, there's really not much that's going to stop him from checking off a win today to open up this 2019 season.
Right, and I would imagine that motorcycles probably don't consume as much fuel as what an ATV would do. Right?
No, we're dealing with a lot more weight and a lot more surface area to turn those tires, so we consume a whole lot more fuel.
So, and like you say, it is a science. These guys have done this stuff a lot. But on occasion, they do make mistakes.
It does. It happens to me. Like I let Thad run out in Georgia a few years ago. It happens. It's not a good day when it does.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember
Yeah, he was leading. It was great.
Yeah.
There goes Jesse Ansley by us. I was down in their pit right after lap 2. They had just pitted. He took 9.5 liters of fuel. Guess how big his gas tank is?
10 liters?
Just under.
Wow, so he was almost empty when he came in.
After 2 laps. Well, not even 2 full laps.
There is Caleb Russell on screen in the FMF PowerPoint. Your second place rider on screen. We'll see what the gap is. At this point, it's almost a moot point to even know what the gap is to Stu Baylor. He didn't close it down enough to notice. If anything, it may have gotten a little larger. He's looking over his shoulder at this point. He's looking at second place points. Oh, and it looks like Thad has closed the gap up a little bit. It was 16 or 17 seconds, and I would say that was closer to about 12 there.
Yeah,
so Thad DeVoe's charging. He's trying to close the gap up. He knows there's a 4-point spread between second and third place, and that's what these guys are fighting over right now, is maximum championship points.
This year, these maximum championship points are going to count, I believe. I think this could be one of the most challenging GNCC seasons. I said it yesterday, and even after the total domination that Walker Fowler displayed in the ATV, front to back, top to bottom, amateur to micro or on up, I think this is going to be the most challenging GNCC championship across the board. Some of the guys might have it a little bit easier, but I'm believing that this right here is going to be one that's not going to be so easy.
No, this is just setting the stage for an awesome season.
Well, Stu Baylor on his way, about 5.5 minutes out from what we expect to be a checker flag and the first win of 2019 to kick off this AMSOIL GNCC season. Caleb Russell in second, Thad Duvall in third, Ben Kelly in fourth, Trevor Bollinger fifth. GNCC Live continues right after this.
It's beautiful madness. It's tough love. It's the thrill of victory, the agony of defeat. It would seem difficult for someone to want to sign up for a task like running to 2 or 3 hours through the woods in some of the toughest conditions around. But that's what GNCC Racing is all about. Stay tuned with us. RacerTV.com with more GNCC Live.
started life as a half-ton two-wheel drive. We have a 6.8-liter Cummins in it. It started life at 2,000 horsepower.
Clocking an Outlaw Diesel Super Series Pro Mod record of 4.71 seconds in the 8th mile, Ben has risen to the top in diesel drag racing.
It's a lot of power and it's a lot of heat. It is very punishing. 98 pounds of boost can wreck a lot of things.
Ben's truck was the perfect proving ground for AMSOIL's Dominator 15W50 racing oil, which Ben ran the entire 2018 season.
Almost 80 passes later, we're here to take it apart and see what it looks like. The rod bearings, everything looked great. We did have one crank bearing that wasn't bad. It showed some wear, and rightfully so. The power level we're at, that's kind of what we were after. We want to know, do we need to schedule a maintenance halfway through the season? Cam looked great, tappets looked good. The protection was definitely there.
Anybody can test an engine at stock horsepower levels, but when you're 2,000 horsepower running a full season, that's quite a testament.
That kind of abuse for that long, we have not seen this kind of longevity.
On March 14th, inside the Daytona International Speedway, the 2019 American Flat Track Championship begins. The fastest growing sport on two wheels returns to battle on March 14th for the 2019 Daytona TT. Reserve now at AmericanFlatTrack.com.
Grand National Cross Country, a race like no other. 2 hours of battling in the toughest conditions an ATV may ever see. And you get to watch it in the comfort of, well, wherever you want to be. Just click us right here, live on RacerTV.com. It's tough out here in the great outdoors. It's summertime, and things will get heated. Do you have what it takes to be part of the action? The Lucas Oil Pro Motocross Championship will put you to the test, but reward you with the thrill of a lifetime. Join the fastest motocross racers in the world as they endure the elements and the toughest racetracks in America for national championship glory. Tickets for the Florida National in Jacksonville, Florida on June 22nd. Available at ProMotocross.com.
This Racer TV broadcast is brought to you by AMSOIL, the first in synthetics. Specialized Turbo e-bikes. It's you, only faster. And by Rocky Mountain ATV MC. Get ready.
Well, Grand National Cross Country Racing, Championship Racing, once again, or GNCC, has started a new program here in 2019. It's called the Moto Hero, presented by AMSOIL, and basically what that entails is active duty servicemen, past duty servicemen, or even first responders that are working across the land. If they are nominated, we have a nomination process on the GNCC website, and you can nominate your Moto Hero. We'll go through the process and eventually sort it out, and we'll choose each and every week at every round of GNCC here in 2019 an award a Moto Hero and recognize the individuals for their service and their accomplishments, as well as give them a plaque and $250 in great AMSOIL products, whether it be T-shirts and hats, oil, whatever it is they want. So thanks to AMSOIL, and thanks to all of our future Moto Heroes as well. Leaders due in any time now as we take a look at this. Actually, probably almost on the late side. So Baylor, Russell, Duvall, Kelly, and Bollinger, your top five. But there's Stu Baylor on his way in.
Stu Baylor making that last little chicane through the 1,000-acre woods now. And there you see the hands in the air, the fists are pumping. Stu Baylor making his way around, taking the checker flag and winning the opening round of 2019 here at the Moose Racing.
He still hasn't quite made it across the finish line.
Well, he made it across the finish line.
There he goes.
I was getting all wound up there for him. But the Moose Racing Wild Boar GNCC, it was about to get real wild. But he made it across the finish line. That's the important thing. And I know timing and scoring's over here, but the end of the race is at the finish line. So that's where he got that taken care of. But Stu Baylor, total elapsed time here, 2 hours, 43 minutes, 53 seconds. And I got to tell you, great call not to put another lap on these guys. I know how hard it was on you guys yesterday for 2 hours and 20 minutes. We'd be over 3 hours at this particular point, so looking at 3:15. So good call again on the behalf of the GNCC crew. And wow, look at that. He looks so fresh.
I was going to say, he doesn't look exhausted. I expected him to
look
be
at that.
Well, he's pretty exhausted. He's cramping right now. That's why he's trying to get everything off. You can see that his arms and his back are cramping, and that's why he's getting everything off as fast as he can.
I don't disagree with that at all, but under other circumstances and previous circumstances.
Oh, no, he looks great as far as his physical, his face and all, but you can see he's dehydrating, he's cramping. They're doing everything they can to try and get some fluids into him.
How can you not on a day like today, really?
Sure. Yeah, 86 degrees on a brutal track like this.
He even wore black gear. That's even another statement.
You are a bad, bad man, Stu Baylor. Wow, that is impressive, and thanks for pointing that out, too. DQ in the booth with us, Johnny Gallagher in here as well, and, of course, Mikey Wayne's out and about. He's actually down near that specialized podium area right now as Caleb Russell makes his way in for a second-place position finish here in round number 1 to kick off the what I am deeming as could possibly be the most challenging championship in recent years in GNCC racing. And I'm talking again across the board, and I'm talking pro right on down through the 50cc micro racers we see. It's going to be a fun season. Thad Duvall making his way in, guys. This will be
Thad Duvall goes down.
Oh, mercy.
He's got plenty of time, but he is absolutely exhausted. He can barely pick up the bike. Chad there to help him. Dad, mini racers and peewee racers, keep in mind, your kid might be racing for a GNCC overall someday. You still got to pick their bike up when they fall after 2 hours and 44 minutes in the Florida sand.
Well, I'll tell you, unless Ben Kelly really finds a fast pace on this last lap, we're going to see almost the identical finish from last year. This is what last year, Caleb Russell and Stu Baylor. We switched that around. So those two guys, Thad Duvall, Ben Kelly, Josh Toth. Let's see. We got Bollinger still in there, and see what we'll keep an eye on this, see what happens. But those top three are in. They had, at last check, last time around, over 2.5 minutes lead over the next rider checking in. And it's really hard to tell there how much more they were ahead of Ben Kelly. Well, our unofficial top 10, if you take a look at the TV screen right now, you see is Baylor, Russell, and Duvall. Those are the only riders that have checked in with 6 laps complete, so this could change. But Ben Kelly in 4th, Bollinger in 5th, Toth in 6th, Josh Strang in 7th, Johnny G, the other Johnny G, in the 8th place position, 9, Liam Draper and Andrew DeLong. How about it for Liam there? I mean, obviously getting a top 10 overall, kind of coming in out under the radar on that one, I think.
I'm also impressed with DeLong, too.
Yeah, DeLong, actually, I'm more surprised and impressed by Andrew DeLong in that 10th place spot than I am Liam Draper in 9th. Andrew, is really had not... I don't even think he'd ridden his race bike until yesterday or Friday, possibly. That team was really behind the 8 ball preparing this year. They didn't get their stuff, and he was riding a borrowed bike all winter, and just didn't have lettered jersey. I mean, they were way behind the 8 ball, and he's just been clawing and saying, "Hey, I'm happy to have a ride, and we're going to make the most of it." So for him to come out here and swing and be in the top 10 at round 1, that's a huge accomplishment for him.
I really believe that he's in a good place right there. I mean, just because they're behind the 8 ball coming in, don't expect them to stay there. That's for doggone sure. Stu Baylor trying to get cooled off right now, taking the win here at the Wild Boar GNCC. And as you can see, water going down, clothes coming off. It's a hot one. Mikey Wayne's down there in the specialized
podium area in just a few moments. We'll be
Trevor Bollinger just checked in there, but he is going to get eclipsed by Ben Kelly there because that was far less than a minute.
Yeah.
It looks like Ben Kelly going to hang on to that 4th place spot overall. An excellent opening round for him.
Yeah.
Josh Toast should be one of the next riders in here to round out the top 5 in XC1 and top 6 overall.
Well, I guess we're going to have to start looking at the historical facts here. You look back 2017, as we said, Caleb Russell, Stu Baylor, Thad Duvall. As we look back to 2017, Caleb Russell, Thad Duvall, Stu Baylor. So we're starting to see a trend. I think, develop here. And right now, Stu Baylor starting out on top of this one. Let's head on down with Mikey Waynes to the podium area.
Well, thanks, guys. Yeah, down here with Stu Baylor. Stu, man, first of all, you said it. I don't want to steal your thunder. You said you wanted to do a first today. What was that?
Well, I had to beat Adam McGill. An interview without pants on.
An interview without pants on, accomplished. Check. Win the first race of the season. Check. Listen, I think back to Ironman of last year. You took the overall there, but you were kind of disheartened. You said, "There's no Thad here. There's no Caleb. I want to beat those guys." You come out here in 2019. I think you made that statement here today.
Yeah, definitely. 5 weeks ago, I walked into the doctor's office, and he told me I shouldn't be walking. I needed surgery, much less going and trying to line up the following weekend. So, blew out my ACL, MCL, PCL, patella ligament, meniscus, full totaled knee. So if you would have asked me the week before that if I was coming out to win the GNCCs, that was the goal. Since then, it's been tough. Mentally, physically, had to take a few weeks off. Luckily, we had a really good baseline. My trainer, Tim Ulinsky, we were working our ass off before that. So when we took our 3 weeks off, we came right back into the swing of things. And, then last week, GNCC posted 5 things to look out for. My name wasn't on that list. Maybe it's because I'm drinking Coors Light and sitting on the couch, but hey, we put on a show today, didn't we?
You absolutely did, man. Well, they better add a 6th one to that list now because you won today.
Yeah, definitely. I got to give it to the whole Thiele team, KTM. Big thanks to my suspension guy. We're leaps and bounds where we were last year. Last year, this time, we were pushing, had the fastest laps. Felt like I was the guy to beat, but just couldn't put together a race. And, we spent the off season working on that suspension, and we're, like I said, leaps and bounds ahead of where we are. Got to give it to my new wife, my whole family, the whole Thiele team, Kenda Tires, Moose Racing, Parts Unlimited, Forma Boots, X-Brand Goggles, everybody else out there. You guys are awesome. Lord Jesus Christ, couldn't do it without everybody. Thanks.
There you go, guys. Stu Baylor, your overall champ here today at the Big Boar, Wild Boar. That's 2 days in a row, Rodney, I did that.
Hey, it happens, man. Wow. So here at the Wild Boar, not the Big Buck, but a big race for Big Stu Baylor there. A little Stu Baylor, I guess.
Medium Stu.
Medium Stu. Okay, yeah, medium Stu. But regardless, wow. The way he talked, he was hot. He had the pants off, and you could tell that there was a little cramping and stuff. How energetic did he really seem? He still seemed to have, and it might be adrenaline still pumping from the win, though, too.
Yeah, I would say there's some adrenaline involved in that, but he looked pretty fresh. I'm impressed.
Yeah, obviously not like before the race, but not a rider that just went 2 hours and 43 minutes in this intensity, and rode as intense as he did. But crazy things, no doubt about that. And he even upped Adam McGill.
No pants on the podium.
I don't know if I want to go that direction or not, but hey, if that's where you want to go, you can take it.
I just hope that those guys call it good and don't try to one-up each other any further.
I know that he might have just started something we don't want that we don't want here on Racer TV.
Folks, here comes our second-place rider in XC2. Ben Kelly already across the line for 4th place overall in the win in that XC2 Pro Lights class. Johnny Gerard, the Trail Jesters KTM rider, the number 969, is across the line, and he has cinched up that second-place position in that XC2 Pro Lights class. We got a battle coming in here. I don't know if this is a class battle, an overall battle. We'll have to see exactly. Looks like it's just a couple of riders battling out for position within their class. And those guys don't know who they were, but they were definitely out there trying to one-up each other through those final corners.
Oh, that was Igor, I believe, Torres out of Marlborough, Massachusetts, senior B40 plus class rider, and Joshua Lee from Statesboro, Georgia, an Open A class rider.
Well, there you go. So they weren't even in the same class, but they knew they didn't want to give it up that close to the finish.
That's the heart of racing. Looks like we're about ready to go down with Thad Duvall with Mikey Waynes. All right, Mikey trying to get some things done there as he moves over to talk with Thad. Look at that. He's waving off the water right now. There it is. He's there. All right, Mikey.
Sorry about that. That's my apologies, man. So, hey, talk to us about the race today, man. Maybe not necessarily the result you wanted, but, boy, it's certainly a dogfight.
Yeah, just, I don't know. Disappointing day for sure. Just a lot of work in 2 months, just ride around in third all day. So, fell off the start, just, I don't know, just struggled all day, and Stu was riding really good. I made a push at the beginning of the race and caught Caleb, and just maybe blew myself up a little bit, and just struggled from there on out. But, yeah, podium's podium. It's a short week to recover, so I felt like I tried to save a little bit at the end and kind of settle a little bit. But, yeah, we'll bounce back at Georgia and hopefully get that win.
Get back into the dirt. There you go, my friends. Thad Duvall, the XC1.
Well, there you go. Thad Duvall taking that third place position. Not seeming to be too happy about that.
Yeah, I think he had a lot more expectations coming into this one.
And, just like Johnny said yesterday or said to me on Friday about the ATVs and everybody this weekend, everybody feels is in the best shape they've ever been. They've got the best equipment they've ever ridden, and they're going to have the best season they've ever had. And and you got to be that positive whenever you're coming into it. That might be what people are saying, and you got to believe that, or it's not going to happen.
Well, I think social media is a big part of that, too. I mean, everybody tries to flex on social media during the off-season and talk about how well their training is going and how good their bike is. And a lot of it's trying to bolster your own confidence, and it's not a bad thing. But today's the reality, man. Rubber meets the road, and today, and I'm sure neither Thad nor Caleb will be upset with me for saying this, and they are tough. I mean, they both came in wanting to win this race, believing they could win this race, but the fact that, we talked about their injuries, the fact that they were off the bike for so long. Stu says he recently injured his knee, so he was off the bike as well, but when it came right down to it and the rubber met the road, Stu Baylor put down the rubber the hardest and got to the finish line first. So, Thad and Caleb and Josh Strang and all the rest are going to go back this week, and they're going to put in the work, and, they're going to analyze parts of their program, and not unbelievable to think that we could see dramatically different results 7 days from now. But for today, Stu Baylor gets to celebrate. Caleb Russell, Thad Duvall, nothing to hang their heads about. Great rides by those guys. Can't forget about Ben Kelly. Had some of the fastest laps of the race early. Obviously had a couple of setbacks, and at some point maybe just settled in for that massive lead he had in the XC2 Pro Lights class. But a lot of guys putting up good results, and a lot of guys that maybe thought coming into this weekend were going to be contenders for wins and championship contenders. Maybe not even in the top 5, maybe not even in the top 10. But again, we get to do it all again in 7 days, and everybody gets to re-wreck.
That's it. And the beauty of it is it's only round 1 of a 13-race championship, and a lot of things can happen over the course of 13 rounds of racing. So just because you have one bad race doesn't mean that others won't do the same. And it doesn't mean you can't climb out of that hole and be consistent and actually outdo your competition. So don't give up. It's only round number 1.
And I think we'll see a lot with these podium interviews coming up. And here we see Caleb Russell. Looks like he's ready to go. And I'll say what I was going to say after he's done.
Okay.
All right, guys, down here with Caleb Russell. Caleb, like I was talking to Thad, I know it's not the result that you are looking for, but first round of the season, you got to feel good about the Florida race, that it just always seems survival.
Yeah, I'm pretty okay with it. Came away with a lot worse finishes from round 1, and this place is brutal nonetheless, and Stu killed it. He must have struggled there in the first couple laps because I was just kind of cruising, and those guys caught up to me, and I was kind of riding to my plan and just riding my own race, and Stu got around us and took off, and I hung on there for a lap, and I was like, man, I can't hold on to this. Like, I'm gonna weed myself trying. So I was like, all the power to him, man. He rode really well, and I feel like this track really suited his riding style. It was kind of tight, twisty, and he's super good when it gets those tight, twisty, flowy trails like in an enduro, and
even though it was like quad width, it was the way the bumps were just you get that flow and you could just sail through it, and I just couldn't latch on, and he rode really good, and I just rode her on into the finish and tried not to fall down, man. I was smoked. It's a brutal day. I knew it was going to be really tough. This heat, this wet sand, really just kind of pulling you and dragging you everywhere, but I can't complain too much.
And no complaints right there from Caleb Russell here out of the XC1. We'll see you in a week up in Georgia.
Wow. And, Johnny, you were talking there just a moment ago, but congratulations to Caleb Russell, their second-place position. Seems to be somewhat satisfied with the number 2 spot, even though obviously we all know that they want the wins. But like he said, and he even said it in his pre-race interview with me earlier today, you know, I've come away with some pretty bad finishes at the opening round. My idea is just to get out of here with a good, strong, solid finish. And if I can win, that's great. If it's second or third or fourth, that's great too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think all three of those guys obviously thinking big picture. All these guys thinking big picture. You know, you got guys out there that maybe thought they were going to be battling for a podium, ended up, you know, barely clinging in for a top 5 or a top 10. But, you know, those valuable points, as you were talking about earlier, Rodney, you know, this is shaping up to be a close season. So many guys going fast. It's definitely, you need to get maximum points that you can on the day. And you heard Caleb talk about, you know, Stu was just putting a pace down that he wasn't comfortable with under these conditions on this day. And, you know, that's the sign of a champion there. I mean, sometimes you got to know your limits. Mm-hmm. You know, we see guys that absolutely run it to the max all the time, and, you know, not to point fingers, but Eli Tomac. You know, some guys are heroes or zeros. They either win or they're 14th. Right. You know, and sometimes you got to take your seconds, you got to take your thirds, you got to take your fifths, you know, because that's the max points you can get on that day. And kudos to Caleb for realizing that. Kudos to Thad. You know, you heard him talking about thinking big picture, knowing he had to race again in 7 days, backing it down at the end once he knew he was in third. Probably wasn't going to catch Caleb. He said he just kind of backed it down, took his third place points, saved a little energy for next weekend. So those are two battle-hardened warriors that are doing everything they can do.
Well, as we take a look at the XC, well, let's take a look at the Wild Boar top 10, and then we'll take a look at the XC2 top 5 or so. Stuart Baylor, Caleb Russell, Thad Duvall, Ben Kelly, and Trevor Bollinger, again, top 5. Toth Strang, Gerard Witkowski, and DeLong rounding out the top 10.
Rodney, right there real quick, we were giving Liam Draper all that credit for that 9th place finish. We got to give Mike Witkowski.
Oh, yeah.
The 282 coming in last lap, putting in a heck of a charge out of North Liberty, Indiana on his beta machine. Coming up, getting that 3rd place final podium spot in XC2.
Got the whole shot today, fell back a little bit, but was able to.
Kudos to him. We get accused of overlooking him quite a bit.
Yeah,
so,
we should.
But he's a guy that charges late, and he's kind of quiet. So, but yeah, top 10. That's got to be. I would say that's probably his best ride ever. So kudos to him. We'll get to hear from him on the podium in a little bit. So good job out there, Mike. And again, Andrew DeLong hanging in there for that top 10 finish. Great ride for him on that new Honda team.
No doubt about it. Taking a look now at that XC2 250 Pro class. Looks like Ben Kelly taking the win there. Jonathan Gerard in second. Mike Witkowski in the 3rd place position. Again, we were talking about that's 9th place overall. He got 3rd in class. Evan Smith, the rider that really surprised us today out of Jefferson, Georgia, but may have surprised us a little, but some may have already known about him. The 347, we'll be keeping an eye out for him in the future. Liam Draper drops off to the number 5 spot. Actually, he has not checked in with his 6th lap complete yet, so he may drop back even a little bit further, in a tough break for him, as he's got a new ride this year, I think, with the Teely Energy boys as well. And the FMF XC3 125 Pro-Am class, not checked in yet. They're not due in for another couple minutes. Jesse Ansley, 7 minutes over Jake Froman whenever they headed into the final lap of racing, and Jake Froman was only about 59 seconds ahead of Cody Barnes, who was 3rd. Barnes was turning what looks to be about a minute and a half faster lap, heading into lap number 6. So it looked like Barnes, if things continue the way that they were, may end up actually moving into a number 2 spot, and that would then drop Jake Froman back. But who knows what happened out there on the trail? Maybe we'll know here in just a couple minutes.
Kudos to Jesse Ansley. I got to give him credit. Yeah. I think that when we saw him on screen there, he had a water bottle in his hand, and I think he was just riding slow. I knew he came into this race injured, so I jumped to some conclusions pretty quickly and thought he'd backed off and fallen back, and now he goes out and wins by 7 minutes. So, Jesse, you know, I'm hard on you all the time because I want to see you do well, but holy cow. Yeah,
how much better are you going to do,
7-minute win. That's pretty impressive.
What do you want, 15 minutes?
Well, hey, you know, the kid's got all the support in the world, so you want to see him do well, and obviously today coming out winning Florida by 7 minutes, that's a statement right there. And crazy how much that shook up since the beginning. Jason Jason Thomas out there, and Lord knows the champ train talked all kinds of trash before the season started, and doesn't look like it translated into a win today, but I'm sure he'll be back when we get to the Clays just 7 days from now, and he'll be swinging and coming out after a win again today, but the kids got it done on him today.
Looks like he retired a little early out there as he finished only 2 laps in 9th place position.
Well, we hope he's okay, and we hope he comes back. Jason always adds a lot of color to the series, and his social media antics are
second to none.
Second to none. He knows how to get people fired up. I always enjoy it from afar away.
All right, Mikey Wayne's down, got a special important message for us.
Hey, guys, just wanted to keep you updated. We're still waiting on Ben Kelly to get down here from the XC2. These guys, first race of the year, they're absolutely winded in Florida, and as I say that, I'm joined right now by the man himself. I'm going to move. I'm going to talk to this guy. So, Ben Kelly, man, he's taking a first place here today in the XC2, coming out and defending that title here this year.
Yeah, I felt really good. I got off to a decent jump and then kind of bobbled a little the next few corners, but just put my head down, made some quick moves, got to the front and just kept charging. Wanted to try to push up into the overall as best I could, and yeah, I had a really killer first lap. I felt good, but yeah, there that second lap I got into some of the XC1 guys and kind of was a little spastic and made some stupid mistakes and had 2 hard crashes, but tried to regroup after that because then I was just kind of exhausted, but was able to push through. Put in a lot of work this offseason at Caleb Russell's. Thanks to him for letting me stay down there with Charlie Mullins, and yeah, happy to start off with a win.
Absolutely, man. Well, congratulations. We're going to let you get rehydrated. What's in store for Ben Kelly this season, man?
Just going to try to go out and
get an overall, right?
Click out off XC2 wins and, yeah, go for that first overall.
For that first, that's what I wanted to hear. There you go, my friends. Your winner here today in the XC2 class, Mr. Ben Kelly.
Well, congratulations to Ben Kelly, and wow, what a day of racing and weekend of racing as we kick off a new year, the 45th annual GNCC Series, the Amsoil GNCC Series presented by Specialized. I tell you, coming into this one, not knowing what to expect, all I expected and hoped for was good racing. I seen it all weekend long. I got exactly what I'd hoped to see. The only thing that might have got shaken up a little bit out of what I expected to see was the monumental win that Walker Fowler had yesterday. But hey, even aside from that, this weekend has just been just amazing and a whole lot of fun to watch. This race today, the surprises that we saw with Stu Baylor, not only the ability that he showed, but just how he responded after the race and how strong he was after the race was probably as impressive to me as anything I've seen in a while out of Stu Baylor. Johnny?
Yeah, I agree with you, Rodney, except I'm actually going to do the flip-flop. We like to do this. I'm going to do the exact opposite. If anything, I was surprised Walker didn't win by more, but they said he was just kind of riding around the last 2 laps. I mean, I know what he's been doing this offseason. I know what he's capable of speed-wise, and right now it just doesn't seem many of us have anything for him. So for him to win by 2 minutes, he was actually pretty disappointed. He was mad they made him back it down so much. But I was surprised by Stu Baylor today, very pleasantly surprised. Expected him to have the speed, knew he had podium potential, definitely thought he would battle for the win. Wouldn't have been shocked to see him win, but to see him ride away in the final 2 laps and win by the margin that he did, absolutely not rocked me back on my heels. Stu Baylor's the real deal. He's a great sand rider, so we're going to find out 7 days from now. Can he back it up and do it again in the clay, or Thad Duvall, Caleb Russell, Josh Strang, and the boys going to have a little something for him? So I'm excited for it already. It's 7 days away. See, the last several months, all I've had to be excited about is Supercross. Now we got GNCC racing back.
All right, Jesse Ansley down on the podium with Mikey Waynes.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, Jesse Ansley, man. Johnny G giving you some slack there in the booth. Said, man, I ride this guy hard, but he absolutely impressed him today. You impressed Johnny G. You impressed the entire GNCC Racing Nation. A very convincing win here today in the XC3.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, and on top of that, I crashed last weekend and ended up doing a pretty severe sprain to my AC joint. So for me to even be out here is just incredible, and I can't take the Dr. Eddie and everything and get me all fixed up, and it was sore, but I could keep pushing through it, and it sucks not being able to ride this week, but I mean, this is my backyard, so yeah, it's another win in the books.
And another win in your home state. That's got to feel extra special, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a bunch of people from FTR here. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to make it out to our local series this year, but no, they've been supporting me ever since I was barely walking, and they're all over the tracks, supporting me, cheering me on, so I really appreciate it.
Jesse, congratulations on the win, man. I'm sure we're going to be seeing a lot more of you here before the season's up. Jesse Ansley, your winner here today in the FMF XC3.
All righty, congratulations. Good job, Jesse Ansley, and winner of that FMF XC3 Pro-Am class. And wow, great weekend, Johnny. Thanks again. DQ, a great weekend to work with you as well. Can't wait to see you in Georgia, man.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I cannot wait to see what happens when we get back to some real dirt.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll get the dirt on the real dirt coming up in a week. Believe it or not, next Saturday we'll be live at 1 o'clock. And for all of us here at RacerTV.com, Johnny Gallagher, DQ, and of course Mikey Waynes, I'm Rodney Tomlin. And wait a minute, you're right. We will be live tomorrow morning from Daytona International Speedway at 9 o'clock for the Ricky Carmichael Amateur Supercross. So that's going to do it.
I'll see you guys Tuesday.
All right. That's going to do it. We'll wrap it up. God bless your hearts and vital organs, everybody.